Welcome in, gatekeepers. How about that? Look at this. 7:59, just about right on time. I can't believe it. I don't think I've ever done that before. But welcome in. Look at you, Ted. Oh man, Ted. Love you. Ted has found a way to take the little if you're on YouTube, if you're on your phone, I think it's laptops and PCs as well, right, Ted? You can have these hearts and 100s and smiley faces and laughs and stuff on the side, but it also covers part of the live chat. So follow Ted, one of our terrific mods here on Journey Through the Gate. Welcome in. And he can tell you, I think it has something to do with your settings, and you can actually take that off and restrict it so it doesn't cover your chat. But, or you can always keep it and throw up hearts. We love that too because we love the love. So it's welcome in. D-Rock, it's great to see you. Renice, I love you, sweetie. Hey, Jim's got a wonderful channel. Go ahead and drop that, Jim. I think, you're a mod. You've got a wrench. So drop your link. If you have a YouTube channel, Scott's Life Off Grid, please drop it now. And if you aren't subscribed, just go over there and hit the subscribe button. Hit some likes on these. Support your these channels, because people are out there trying to put their light out into the world, be creative in the way that they've found that suits them, and we need to go out and support that as much as possible. Welcome in, Kat. That's our wonderful ghost Laura in here. I don't think you're incognito anymore, are you, sweetie? So not well after that, no. Welcome board, Texas. Welcome in here. We hope that you're doing great, sweetie. I'm doing great. And welcome in. And if you guys haven't hit the like, please take this moment to go back in, hit that thumbs up, because we're fighting the interwebs and the inner tubes, and we're doing it organically. So every little bit helps. If you're not subscribed, we hope you'll think about doing that tonight before you leave us. So what do we have going on this week? Woof, what a mess out there, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to leave that all behind. We're just going to... We had that great music. We had that high vibe stuff. We had some cute skeleton poems, and we had a little bit of, you had everything from Looney Tunes to cats coming down the stairs upside down and backwards. It's been that kind of week. But here we all are, here again on a Sunday night to gather in and get light and energy recharge from each other. And, you can feel it already. You already feel better being here, right? And I feel better that you guys are here. So, one of the topics that we talk number one on this show a lot, and basically that's the whole reason it was created, was to connect us better into the understanding of what we really are. We're beings of light. We're beings of energy. We are a soul. We're a skeleton, as we saw. We're bone. But we leave that behind. What do we take with us? What goes with it? So many stories of ghost stories, or whether it's a residual haunting and it's just an echo in time, or whether it's a time slip, or we've slipped into another dimension, maybe a parallel dimension, or possibly just raised a vibration enough to peak into another vibration, another frequency, another parallel, right? So many different things out there, and I could go on and on and on. But what happens after we pass? So many people are in here and probably watch this channel. I know I watch so many channels for the same reason, because even after 50 years, I don't have a whole lot of answers. I have a whole lot of questions. And it still is intriguing to me as it was when I was 11 years old, standing on my tippy toes, looking into the Dewey Decimal System, trying to find books on the occult and true ghost stories, and things like Hans Holzler and Harry Price, and things that were out then, and haunted houses, and, the best haunted houses in Britain or New England or whatever it was. But that's the kind of stuff I was looking at when I was 10. That was 50 years ago. What have we gathered since then? And I think it's wonderful to come together and just talk about it in a matter-of-fact way of, we continue on. We continue on. Energy doesn't die. So just taking that for granted right out of the gate, then what happens? Wouldn't it be great if we could talk to people over there, to spirits over there that have crossed over, not just communicate with ghosts that are here, earthbound, let's say, but to be able to communicate with ones that have crossed over, and not just in short little spurts where you get to maybe get lucky enough to get your fortune read, and that person really has abilities and tells you, hey, guess what, there's somebody here who has a message for you. Those situations aren't as rare as we think, but they're rare to hear of, and when we do hear of them, we always kind of question them, like, where's that coming from? Where's that source? Who's telling me the story? Where did they get that? And that'll always eat in the back of your mind to make you think, gosh, is that real? Is it, can I count on that story? And you really can't. But what you can count on is the absolute tonnage of information, the absolute amazing amount of experiences, good stories, good witnessed experiences that have some substance to them and detail, and working on them together. And that's what we like to do here on the channel: get together and look at the same story and get different vantage points on it, and really try to see, what does that tell us about the other side? What does that tell us about what happens when we cross over? What happened to my loved ones? What happened to my cat, my dog, my whatever, your hamster, your parakeet, anything that you had a love connection with, is right there waiting on you, because that never dies. That I am so convinced of at this point, at the end of 50 years, that's what I have to sit on. That's my foundation. Totally convinced of it. No question in my mind. Everything else is questions, and what degree and what level and what's happening at the time. Are the footsteps I'm hearing coming down the stairs? Am I being haunted? Or is it me from last week and it's an echo? Or me from the future? I can't tell you all that, but I can tell you I have two people that are coming on tonight that mesh so well with this channel, mesh so well with this live chat, because the people in here are mostly light workers. And in different ways, they put their light out there, whether it's through abilities or healing or kindness or whatever that light worker and the combination of abilities and paths they've chose to keep those lights on in their way. And I think you become a really good human and a good light worker and a good warrior and a good discern, somebody that can sort things and puzzles and things like that. After all these decades of looking into the paranormal, you become a paranormal Sherlock Holmes, but with a heart, because you know that that's the thing that beats all the dark, scary stuff, and you walk with it right there. Well, this gentleman that we're going to talk about tonight is Leslie Flint. And I brought two people in here that I pretty much was, like, say, called to invite and to get together. And we tried that a couple weeks ago. And, it was a fight to get them in here, but that's okay, because we're here tonight. So first up is author, someone who's worked in the medical field, end of life care. Someone who has had abilities from very young and has learned to hone them. And she got those chiseled and refined by going through multiple experiences that'll just knock your socks off and raise the hair on the back of your neck and on your arms and you name it, right? Somebody that comes through all that and still can have a level head and help to us to sort these things is a wonderful, wonderful well of information. And we are so glad she is on this channel tonight with us, and so glad she is a friend of mine and a friend of this podcast, and that is Miss Lynn Monet. You ready, sweetheart? Oh my gosh, you look gorgeous. Look at her.
Hi.
Look at this. Look out now.
Woo-hoo.
Look at you, darling. You look wonderful. And you just look
Thank
like,
you.
just love. Just love,
Thank
just
you.
spiritual love, just, light. And it's wonderful to have you. And,
Thank you so much.
all
Thank
the
you.
things that you've done in your lifetime, what the paranormals put you through in life. here we are. And now we get to really sort out the finite detail. And I love that you're here to do that with me. How you been?
As usual, it's my pleasure. I was actually at a haunted tour of a hotel in South Carolina, the Beltmore Inn, the Belmont. I'm sorry, and so I was there yesterday, and had a great turnout, and there was a lot of activity in the rooms, going through the rooms, and so it was interesting to see, the people there and get to connect with people of like mind. So it was great. But as always, it's a pleasure to be here. You're my sister from another mother, and I love this group. And I need to get a hold of Vixen. Is it Vixen?
Okay.
Vixen, please send
you in here tonight, sweetheart?
Yeah, an email through my website, www.lynnmonet.com, so that I can email you that ebook from last 2 weeks ago, and let me know which one you want. So
tell her what you want, what you really, really want, Vixen.
Yeah, tell me what you want, what you really want. And also, I can't see, I'm trying to pull up on the other screen so I can see the chat, but I can't see the chat, but I love everybody. Thank you so much.
For you, sweetie. Ted has got his eye out. Mods have their eye out. D-Rock is welcoming you in.
Thank you so much.
Jim, wonderful Jim's channel, A Common Belief. Everybody's here to they just love you, baby. They just love you. So,
thank you so much.
I'll tell you what. Now, you know Jim, and you know what Jim is involved in. Now, if anybody doesn't realize, I'm going to tell you really fast. Everything I said about Lynn, that's just scratching the surface, just barely. Okay, tip of the iceberg here. And the reason I say that is because she has, because of the medical and end of life care and the things that she bought a house and it was so haunted she couldn't move in. So, I mean, and she lived through that and then carried it through. And not only that, she wrote about it. So she's got wonderful books out there. Run those off for me real quick, sweetheart. And we're going to get Jim in here.
I have Omnipresent, which is going to end up being a 5-book series. The Omnipresent.
Wonderful.
Is that which is the one about the house that was so haunted that I never was able to move in. Number 2 is What Happened, Omnipresent, What Happened Next, which talks about what happened after I moved out. It also goes through a segment on mental illness and attachments on people with schizophrenia and addiction. Then there's a 3rd book that's going to be coming out in about a month. It's Omnipresent 111 Becca Dawn Drive, and it is a story about how I got hoodwinked into living into I had moved from my house. I needed a temporary situation in a rental, and I got stuck living there for a year with a naked ghost that was going around pulling down women's underwear in the middle of the night and crawling in bed with them. And he tried it with me. So I said, tried. Then I'm in the process of writing the 4th book in the series called Omnipresent. Let me slow down. Mercury retrograde. I was born during Mercury retrograde, so I get tongue-tied even worse. Okay. Omnipresent, Gnome Place Like Home, which I got that idea from Cisco. Thank you very much. Which is a story about a house that I
no charge.
Yes, thank you, thank you. About a story about a house that I inherited when my sister passed away, and turned out that instead of spirits, so much it was an elemental in the house that was not happy, and I had to have Cisco and the whole group put the fear of bejesus in him, and he's actually quite pleasant now and very cooperative and sweet. So I'm writing a book about that, and it's about the connection of bringing elementals, the bridge of humans with elementals. I'm supposed to be writing this. I was asked actually by the elementals to do this. So the other book is Colors of Heaven, Beginnings Never End, which is a story in my nursing field of 40 years. I have and 18 of that in end of life care. Yes, I'm going to be 61 in May. Woohoo! And looking forward to my birthday.
Love you, anyway, happy birthday early, Lynn.
Thank you. Thank you. So that book is about death, dying, and afterlife, and some of the beautiful things that have occurred at the time of transition, and a lot of the things that I've seen as well in people that are rallying, coming back and forth. And then my final book right now is called The Gap. It's what else your adolescent and teen needs to know, and it is a non-candy coated, straightforward book about
it's good.
What to do if a condom breaks. And it's not that I'm encouraging that your kids have sex, but if they are, they
need to break condoms.
Yeah, they need to know what to do if one breaks. And even if you're an adult, you need to know what to do if
it's
one
a
breaks.
Needed book. I mean, every time you mention that, I'm reminded of a book that was in our school library. It was called "Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret." Now they did a movie. I don't know if they changed it. So if you
Mhm.
don't base my opinion on that movie, but the book, if you didn't have people to talk to, it was good. To have something like that. So I'm so glad you've done that, and I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you.
And I love that everybody's out there and finding their way to be active. Now Vixen is in here, but let's bring in Jim because
Okay.
here's the thing. I want you guys to understand that I didn't do this. This was spirit driven. And when I found Leslie Flint and revisited Leslie Flint, because this isn't the first time that I've kind of dove into the massive amount of material that he left behind after his decades of work. I kind of looked into this and I said, how can we use this to help others understand? One, how can we do it in a respectful way to Leslie Flint? Two, how can we do it in a respectful way to spirit and to the earthbounds that are here? And how can we help people understand that are struggling through grief, worry, fear, you name it, all of the stuff that's kind of getting a little bit close to being below that frequency line we're trying to stay up here on, and you're getting a little bit, how to bring you back over that line with some hope, some facts, some stories, and some testimonial. And then I was told, no, it's going to expand bigger. Right away, Lynn's face comes to mind, and then Jim's. And it was so easy to see how the three of us would be together on this, because we're all doing this work in our own way as best as we can. We're basically searching for the truth and trying to reach out there in love. Now, the gentleman that's coming on next, Lynn and I both know him. When I met him through a wonderful medium, again, another medium and remote viewer, and again, a light worker in her own right, Tammy. And she says, you're talking about heart and intent. You've got to meet these guys. I know these guys. They're in Pennsylvania, Keystone State Paranormal Society. And she said, here, just watch this video. I heard Jim's voice. That's James Wyrick, Jim, and Dave Haney. And at that time, they had several other members. And I'll let Jim explain it, whatever he wants to feel the need to talk about. And the point is I heard the video, and immediately you set into that energy. And you set into that, you just resonate on that frequency. You've got that vibe, you're vibing, like the cool kids used to say, vibing. It's true. It's true, because when you get in that energy, everything just turns on, and your lights, you guys seen me do it. It's like the panel, all the lights on the panel are just lit up, because it's the energy, it's the vibe being around like-minded. And when you click in with other light workers and you decide, okay, there's something we can do. Now, Jim and I and his whole group, the intent and everything else, the amount of evidence and things they were picking up, and the amount of good, and the way they escalated so darn fast. Oh, what a sweetie. Oh, look, a new baby. Oh my gosh.
I found this on my door, on my front porch.
It's a gift from Spirit. Oh, welcome. Did you name?
Yeah, he's so sweet. My daughter's calling him Beans, but I'm calling him Oliver. So yeah, he's a sweet baby.
Oliver. Welcome, Oliver. A new gatekeeper, everybody. So let me get Jim in here.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. No, hold on to the baby.
He was playing with my feet. So
he's so sweet.
He's sweet. Yeah.
Oh, how precious. See, guys, so much light. So again, Jim has grown into working with Spirit. He's got a wonderful story about Hoover House and the things that he is doing in Pennsylvania as well. And it has to do with this. It is next level communication with spirit guides, bringing in other spirits, helping earthbound spirits that are trapped in the realm, helping the living to deal with grief and answers and direction and life situations. And it's an absolutely amazing thing. So please welcome my friend, Jim Wyrick, Keystone State Paranormal Society. Come in, my friend.
Woohoo! Hi, Jim.
Look at this baby. We got kittens and everything.
We have functioning IT tonight.
Isn't this beautiful? You look beautiful. Welcome. So I can't even explain how what Spirit has done here tonight.
I can't either. going back to our beginnings, my son-in-law and I, we initiated going up to Gettysburg on the fields at night and going to um, Charlestown and going up to Harper's Ferry, all areas with a lot of history and a lot of energy still. And we would have our recorder and some little new device, and we're out on the fields and we're picking up EVPs, and it's the coolest thing. But it was very peripheral, and we got a lot of evidence, and then I've got a matter of fact, I just did Friday. I did a show at Gettysburg for a Greyhound Association. They come in each year, all these hundreds of Greyhound owners, and they bring their dogs with them. And anyhow, I did a show there, and going through and preparing for that, I didn't realize how much stuff I have. I mean, we're talking between photos and EVPs and clips. I'll never even process. I'll be gone and won't be able to process.
It's an amazing amount of stuff, Jim. This is what I'm saying, because it's the intent. Lynn agrees. And everybody in this chat is learning it. When you get with that little group, and in 45 minutes to an hour come up with more evidence than 4 seasons of whatever paranormal thing is on TV, you got to stop and wonder, now hold on here, wait a minute, what are we doing right? And it's spirit driven love and intent, and it's so wild, because when I was digging into Leslie Flint coming tonight, and I'll shut up, but this is it, I'm firing on all cylinders. So the thing that the circle that met with this direct voice medium said, it was the spirits came over and said it's intent, and you have to come in unselfishly, and you have to come in to help, and you have to come in for that reason, and wanting to learn and wanting to use your energy to help other spirits, strangers. Just what we're supposed to do here, right?
Well,
and look what you're doing at Hoover.
Yeah.
Look what she was doing in the medical field. It's amazing.
Interesting with Lynn. My background too, and I was at Johns Hopkins. I'm a clinical pharmacist, and I worked the oncology center from its inception. I was actually director for a period of time, and probably I worked about 38 years there, and most of that time worked with all the investigational chemos and all that, and I saw the nobility of the human spirit, and probably we have very similar situations. And one thing that came through so strongly in all that was, and I come at this from a point of faith, I'm Judeo-Christian, Jesus Christ is my Savior, and I work through him in all of this. And there was instances, I remember my work week started on Sunday night, and I come in after the weekend, and as I'm cleaning up and getting ready to start my shift, I'm in the bathroom, and a voice comes into me and says very clearly, check the bupivacaine bin. And I'm like, I get cold sweats. I'm like, uh-oh, something's wrong. So get myself cleaned up. I run out and get into the IV area. And here when I pull out the bupivacaine bin, it's filled with lidocaine.
Oh, no.
Home drug. So I call one of my trusted techs up, and she said, yeah, we were out of it the other day. We had to get a block from one of the other pharmacies in the hospital. And I said, I suspect there's some wrong medication on the floor. So I said, I called around to get some replacement. Well, here in the meantime, get a phone call, and it's a nurse I knew quite well. And she's like, can I have another bupivacaine drip for Mrs. So-and-so? Well, now not only do I have been warned that there's a wrong drug, but now the Lord's provided me who has the wrong drug. So I told the nurse, I said, are you getting ready to hang a bottle now? She says, yes. I said, hold it. It's not the right stuff. I said, I will get you a bottle as soon as I can. So we made up another bottle. She ran up and got it. And so we were able to ensure that patient got the correct medication. When I later had it tested, yes, it was incorrect. It was full of lidocaine. Now, I don't know with those 2 anesthetic agents. My suspect is the lidocaine is more prone to throw cardiac arrhythmias than the bupivacaine. That's why we use it so much in pain adjuvant therapy. But here, like the Lord cared enough about to alert me that a mistake had been made, and then told me who that patient was. And this happened many times over the years. So, I come in with all of this with a firm testimony that we are loved by God and he cares about us, even to the minute details.
And that's the message from the other side, Jim, not to cut you off, but it's just like that. And it's whether, it's said through our spirit guides or whatever, or angels, or, just straight contact. They do care, and they do care about the minute things. And, I think what messes up everybody is they think, well, then why does this happen? And why does this happen? And we've got to learn to separate those things and say, this happened, this drop of whatever, this drop of water, okay, happened for a reason. And wherever the disperse goes, we don't get to see wherever that energy and the rest of that, or what I told a couple weeks ago about dropping the rock and the ripples, near death experience. A lady went across and she said that she was getting this plain message from God. And she said the only time she ever, she just felt this great warmth and love and, everything else. And she was basically being told she had to go back. And she says, you're here to carry this message. What's the message? Here's this big hand with a rock. Reaches down in the clouds, picks up this rock and drops it. And he says, gets ready to drop it and says, look down. And look down, and everything parted. And it was just water as far as the eye could see. And then he said it just like this. I'm trying to get it the way she said it. She said, I am the light. I am love. The light and the love and myself is in you. You are the rock. And he drops it. And it hits and it ripples. And then they watch as the ripple just becomes not a normal ripple, but almost a tidal wave in every direction as it grows, and it grows across this vast, water. And he said, and the water is humanity. So now you work for me. Back you go. It's like that, so now you can hear 1,000 NDE stories, whether it's Daniel Brinkley or people that we know ourselves, and so many people that, the message is always the same, similar, connected to, we don't die. Energy just shifts. We're here for a reason. Sometimes we choose to be in a certain place for a reason. And I totally believe that we're here now because we chose to be here on a vast number. And so many light workers will look back and go through your life and say, why did I do all those things so fast? Why did I have all those experiences? Because to get you here. So be glad you offer. That's what enjoy the journey means, enjoy it, but learn from it. And what we've learned is, because your group is like it is, Jim, you get so much wonderful results. Lynn gets wonderful results. It's just, and the group around Flint, wonderful results, all for the same reason. And this was happening in the 50s and the 40s and the 60s.
Well, yeah. And I am a bit of a historian. I early on, I was doing a lot of work in the audio end and studying the masters from back when. And that's something, I guess, in the current wave of investigators and with all the new gadgetry and stuff, we sort of lost, like Rowdy Vay and those pioneers from the 50s into the 60s. It's amazing the work they got. And these men were already established in their fields. Many of them had achieved Nobel Prizes and that. And yet they were ridiculed. They were, in some cases sneered at, despised. So something hit home. They weren't doing this for money or fame or that. They already had that. They believed in what they were doing, and they felt, they were advancing this communication or from a spiritual basis. And so that really led me to not only honor those people and just be grateful for their work, but to study it. And then there's some pioneers in that field now who, I don't know if you've ever had them on your show, but Lourdes and Ron Yankovic. And they're like top of the game. It's amazing. They've come down several times, and we've actually.
Yes, Ron's been on like twice. Yeah, we got to get him on again, because you blink and Lourdes and Ron will jump up
It's
several different levels. It's an amazing group that we've all, been able to be a part of. And the people that we all know collectively is just mind blowing. And it just seems to be just like you guys in this chat where you're at that level to where, we're not sitting here talking about, are there ghosts? Please stop it.
I know, right?
We're here to go, what do they need us to know? How can we help them? How are they coming in and helping each other? What are the choices there? When do you find those out? It's like, blah, 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 blah. It's just so many questions. And we're starting to get those answers, but it's not, we're starting to get those answers as a humanity, as a group, a collective of humans, because they were getting those answers back in the day. It's just for some reason, this information just keeps getting whooshed away, whether it's Bigfoot or UFOs or whatever.
And do you think it's the other side of the darkness, or what? Something is working against it. I'm convinced of that.
Absolutely.
And matter of fact, before I came on, while I was watching Lynn talk and you set up, it just hit me. I said, because I really feel my day, I'm sort of limited. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to do anything to take myself out early. But
please don't.
It calls me home, I'm going.
Mm.
And I think my time's sort of limited. So I'm really at a point where I'm trying to maximize my efforts. And it just dawned on me, like I told you, with all this, think of all the other people who've entered this field and gathered all this. And when they go, it's probably going to be lost.
Yeah.
I'm thinking we really, between all of this going on, we ought to have some kind of central warehousing or
yes. Oh God, wouldn't it be wonderful? We need to do it, Jim. Why not? Why not? We need to get together. Now I know a couple of people already have that going, together. And the problem is if they all disconnected, it connected it.
Yeah, and yes,
just as resources, like, hey, if you want to look deeper into here's a couple places to look, go to their website and their collective, because you go to a Paracon and you go to the Keystone table, there is so much evidence on that table. And again, it's because of the intent and the heart. Jim and I'll tell you, you can walk down into basement. We've been in dark basements before together. And, the stuff that, you get done, it's like you get in there, we'll say, whatever, our cleansing, protection, and prayers, not only for ourselves, but anybody that's there in the house, spirit or earthbound or spirit or otherwise. And it's just everybody just clicks in, everybody does their thing. And before you know it, bam, 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 we're solving issues, or at least coming close to darn near solving things that happened 120 years ago, But we're also seeing that spirit, which is what I consider someone, the essence of the human being and the soul that crosses over and goes through whatever process, whatever level that may be. Lynn, does that sound about right to you? And then earthbound as, for some reason, still connected to that physical earth, connection for whatever reason it may be, choice, confusion, grief, mourning, regret, whatever, all the lower heavy
addiction.
things. Yeah, all the lower heavy things. Anything that gets you below that line, that vibration where you start getting to the lower vibrational things. They have so much power, folks. And something that Jim said, and I'm going to shut up and let Lynn respond to this, but that's so huge, is why are we losing this? Why did we lose the good things Harry Price did and the things that they learned at Borley Mansion? Why are we losing 35, 40 years of Peter Underwood studying over in the UK and going through, the ghost paranormal society there, the amount of information and EVPs and things that they found out? How is this not in some huge database of push a button and hear everything we've got on this? What do you have to add to it? It's a wonderful idea. Why can't we do it?
It is a wonderful idea. And, the dark side likes to be, acknowledged, but not exposed. So that's part of it too. And also, we're coming into a time where it is more acceptable, even like in the medical field. And I'm sure that Jim will agree with me on this. I mean, if a person starts seeing their loved ones at the time of death, they run and they get the meds because they're hallucinating. Let's give them some Seroquel. Let's give them some Buspar. Let's give, just to level. And I mean, sometimes they start seeing the spirits even a year in advance of their death. But then that it's coming close. the majority of society is not ready to accept it yet, because even though we all are born with these gifts, these are God-given gifts, some people are still very, very afraid of that. So they choose to have blinders on, and they really don't want to know because of their discomfort. I have had many, many times a person getting ready to pass that has started talking about a loved one in the room, and a loved one that other people in the room also know, like the father or brother or uncle, and they come to get me because they're uncomfortable with a dead person being in the room, and they want me to shut the person up, basically.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, they do. They get the heebie-jeebies. Oh, mom's talking about my dad. My dad's been gone for X amount of years, and I think she needs some meds. And I try to open their eyes and explain to them that this is a very beautiful time, that even you, if you can keep your emotions even, can communicate with the other side yourself through the person that's transitioning. Because if your father's in the room, and I go back to that example of Edna, the story of Edna, the blind lady, which I don't know if Jim has heard. I know everybody in the room has probably heard a couple of times, but I'll be glad to share that if you want me to.
Sure, tell it so Jim can hear it. You know, it's a good lead into the other stuff as well. So please do.
Yeah. And again, talking about hallucinations, and just to mention too, that in one of my books, because I have the gift of second sight, I've also seen attachments on people with schizophrenia that are empaths that are really hearing voices because they have these things on them. But anyway, to go to Edna, I had a patient. I'm on my unit. She'd only been there about 2 weeks. I worked in a long-term facility, so I got to know my patients, but I didn't get to know her that well because she hadn't been there that long. And all of a sudden, her son and daughter come to the nurse's station, and they say to me, "Mom's talking to people in the room that aren't there." Well, Edna's blind. She's totally blind. She's been blind for 10 years, no shadows, nothing. She can't see anything. And I kind of expected for her to start, talking to people in the room, because of course now she could feel them and sense them and probably even see them in a different kind of vision. So I told them, I said, well, let me walk down to the room with you and see if I can do something to help your mama be more comfortable. So when we walk down there, Edna's laying at a slant. She's reaching up into the sky, and she's smiling. And she's acting as if she's receiving something very, very fragile. Something's being handed to her. She's handling it like it's a delicate snowflake. And I said to her, I said, "Edna, who's here?" And she said, "George." Just very matter of fact, George, like it was no big deal that George was there. The daughter turned as white as a sheet and had to sit down, because she said, "Well, George is my father. And my father's been gone X amount of years." And then Edna pipes up and she says, "And he's glad that you're taking good care of Pixie." Pixie was Edna's poodle. When George passed away, the son had to take possession of Pixie the poodle, because Edna, being blind, could no longer care for the dog. And the dog was still very much alive, an elderly dog, but still alive. And the son told me the story. And so he said, "Do you think that my mom's hallucinating?" And of course, professionally, I can't come out and say, "No, I don't think your mother's hallucinating. I think your father's here, and your loved ones are starting to come in to help your mama get ready to go home." So I turned it around. I always turn it around. And I said, "Well, do you think that she's hallucinating?" And he's like, "Well, I don't know." And I said, "Well, do you mind if I try something?" I said, "I'm not trying to change your belief system or go against any, religious beliefs or anything that you have, but it's been my experience that loved ones do come in and start to collect their family members to help the transition over to be easier." And I said, "Would you mind if I try something?" And he said, he nodded that it would be okay. And I said, "Edna," I said, "would you ask George what color is your son's shirt?" Or actually, I didn't say Edna. I asked Edna first, "Can I ask George a question?" is what it was. And she nodded her head yes. And then I asked him, I said, "What color is your son's shirt?" And Edna said, "Yellow." Well, he was wearing a yellow Ralph Lauren polo shirt. And in that moment, I mean, she's blind.
Right.
How can a blind person hallucinate if they can't see? So that really brought it home for me. I mean, there's no way to explain that.
Exactly.
She was still in her right mind. She was still communicating. She could still alert oriented times 3. at that time, she was able to answer all those questions, but yet she's seeing George, her husband. And, so that totally brought it home to me. And then in that moment, the son got it and he says, "Hi, Dad." And I said, "Well, now, is there anything that, that you need?" And they're like, "Well, no." I said, "Well, I'm going to leave you with your mom and your dad."
Sure.
So,
Well,
Cool.
sort of back
cool.
up what you say, we do our direct communication is with table tipping, the old spiritual art. And, I guess everybody has their own version or whatever. We had a Lilydale psychic came down, good friends with my partners, Pam and Steve Barry, who live and run the Hoover House for me. And she had taught them the initial table tipping when they had another place. And they in turn taught me. And for some reason, Spirit it really takes to me. I'm honored and humbled actually that it trusts me, and I would never do anything to disrespect Spirit, and hope I live my life so that he can always trust me. And I ask him to look at my aura, see what I'm about. Anyhow, when we have someone at the table and if their loved one has come through, we'll tell them, do you know like say it was a grandmother, do you know your grandmother's month that she was born? And if they do, we'll say, okay, now don't say anything, but in your head ask your grandmother to tilt or move the table when you say the correct month that she was born. And I said, then just in your head, give it a little time, say a month, and if nothing happens, say another month, and just do that. And so we don't hear anything. We're just here at the table. I generally have my eyes closed in the session, and then suddenly, like, the table will move. Generally it tilts to the person asking the question. And I said, "Was that the correct month?" And she goes, "Yes." Well, we haven't heard anything, So, or we'll say a favorite food, or if they had a car they liked, or whatever. And we explain that it's a form of ID to the loved ones to reassure them that that person's there. So it was very similar to what you were saying. Here's this blind woman, can't see a color, and yet, the spirits are obviously very aware. So
yes, they are.
That's very frequent. I mean, that's
the thing, aware on levels that you cannot understand. So many things are going through my head right now as far as, Lynn, I've told you that was like one of my first, I don't want to say first experiences where I knew I was going through something supernatural. And I say supernatural in this way because it was my grandfather was passing in the nursing home. And everybody is talking about, everybody's whispering. He had 5 kids, 4 girls, and, now they're in their 40s, whatever. And they're all chit-chatting and talking. It's like, Dad's really losing it. He's starting to talk to, people, uncle, whatever, and he's passed. And, the same scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm 5, maybe 4, 5, 6, oldest 6. And I don't even think I'm old, but I'm seeing, they said something about a hula girl. One said a Polynesian woman, which was funny. The other one said a hula girl. He's seeing a hula girl. And the only visual I had to go with hula girl is the ones that were in the King Kong movie. Right away I'm thinking that because they had the Polynesian dancers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the ones that back then everybody had on the dashboard.
Yes,
for some reason around the 50s, early 60s, they still had those hula girls that would jiggle when you drove the car on the dashboard, right? So I was thinking that. And I'm looking around and I'm seeing him. Everybody's talking and he's mumbling and he's kind of, and they were saying something about, he keeps talking to somebody over in the corner. He keeps thinking it's gone to his head. It's not going to be long now. It's terrible. It's, he's losing his mind. They're saying all these things about my grandfather. And I'm like, no, she's right there. Nobody's listening to me because I'm a kid. Oh, she's not, honey. Just let's go get you to the vending machine. You know how kids are always moved out of the room and pushed away. But that's one of the earliest things. And I think even then I understood, but they couldn't beat it out of me with their logic and their don't be sillies and all this other stuff all my life, So I'm so glad we all hung on to it. And the thing is, is like Jim was saying too, and you with the, the different levels. There's so much going on in that room that we just don't even know. Right. Jim sees it when you're in the room and you're table tipping. And Jim and I have done this many times together. The whole room is filled with spirit. There's spirit almost ushering in. You can almost see it, Jim, in your mind's eye, of spirit that's knowing, that is familiar with people there, that's worked with people there, that's your familiar crowd that's always there, and then you have the people that come in and interchange. And then the new people that are coming in first time are bringing their spirit guides and their loved ones that are coming through. And it's amazing. And so almost like you can imagine this whole room filled up with spirits at different levels and probably talking. It's like, I'm with that one, it's like, whoa, she's going to get a message tonight. Boy, watch this, and you can almost imagine, you can feel it, Jim. And it's really on that level.
I wish I had a device that could measure density of the atmosphere, because you can feel it. I mean, it's just, it's not good or bad. It's just, you can feel it. It's like things are getting compacted, and you can just feel like almost a pressure change.
And it's the opposite. And it's the opposite too when they release and they cross over.
Yeah.
Like when we were doing, Jim and I were involved in with the wonderful Mike Simpson and other wonderful people. Dave Haney was there and some other people. And I can't really remember. I know my son was there with us. And anyway, we go down in this cellar and there's multiple spirits in the cellar. So again, like I said, everybody just clicks in. They know they're kind of going with their guide. They've already done all their stuff. They know they're there for a reason, and we just kind of click in. And Mike is ex-Navy. He's ex-military. I'm ex-military. And we just kind of clicked together and knew that most of the people we were dealing with was probably soldiers. So we went that route. We played some music. I sang, I think, Amazing Grace, something like that. And you could just feel the energy shift, and it was almost like a change in the vibration of it, but not so much the density, but the heaviness. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, we all just in agreement were like, look, all you have to do is connect. We started connected into the love, because then we had the attention and the love, and you could see it shift, and you could feel the atmosphere change. Could you not, Jim?
Oh yeah, no, it was a significant difference. And it's like I said, the last my own physicality is diminishing, and unfortunately I don't think I'm going to get it back, but so I haven't really had a chance to do much long distance outside right now. I'm pretty much centered in and about Waynesboro, and Gettysburg, and there's a number of facilities and projects we're working on. But as I do so, I've really been blessed that, and I don't even understand. Unlike you, Lynn and Cisco, I look at you guys as mentors, and really, it's remarkable how well you deal with it all. I don't. I'm still learning how to ground. I try. We're just doing this broadcast. I'm affected by spirit, so I got my little, grounding tools and all that. There you go. All right, so good. At least looks like I'm doing correct by the teacher.
I did my salt bath. I'll be doing my salt bath.
Yep. Eat your chocolate. Do your grounding. Hug a tree. If all you need is, you want to do the quickest thing, if you can kick your shoes off, and I highly recommend you do, and just go up to a tree and hug it. And if somebody hollers, hey, what are you doing hugging the tree? Say, I'm not hugging it. It's hugging me, because that's exactly what it's doing. Jim and I have been involved in so many things like this where, we just did that wonderful saging where we went up in the tree. I mean, there's so many stories. And the thing is there's so many levels to this. It's like, once you think, okay, that's it. I know something happens after we cross over, and I know we don't, and I'm fine with that. If that's enough for you, that's fine. But you have to understand there's so many levels to this. It's so amazing. Mm-hmm. So many of us have been involved in these cases where spirit is coming through, maybe crossed over to a certain level and knew that if they came back and sorted out whatever issue they have, very much like, think about like not Bob Marley, Marley in Scrooge, where he's coming back and trying to do a good deed, to assist, to try to lighten his load a little bit. We all have stories like that. Jim and I were involved in one where I believe the person, the young lady that was killed, was actually coming back to help the person who did it to her.
Yeah. Now that's still ongoing.
Still, but
Yeah.
time is, how much, soon, how much is time? You know what I mean?
This is, and I'll try to capsulate this real quick, but we had just last week, the previous week, we had an amazing night that Saturday night. And a dear friend of mine who I just met a couple years ago, she had come up to the to the area and needed a place to stay for the night. Her father, his health had declined, so they had the family put him in an assisted care home, and they had to sell his house. So now she needed a place to stay when she came up to visit. And so my sister was talking to her about the table tipping and odds and ends like that. And it intrigued her. So that night when we got together to do a session, she got a little scared. And so she was going up to her room. And as she got to the top of the stairs, something took her and said, no, you have to go back down. So she did come back around, and she said, can I just watch? I said, sure, have a seat on the sofa. So in short order, I think it was about the third spirit that came through. It was a mother that she had lost a couple years earlier. And that started a whole process. The mother basically informed her that her father didn't have a lot of time left, but not to despair. The family was all starting to gather to welcome the father home. And it even included, I'm picking up on two bulldogs running around. One of their names is Matilda. So I'm asking her, did you have dogs as a child? No, we didn't have any. And then she goes, oh my gosh, my father had two dogs. And I said, were they bulldogs? Yes. I said, well, when you see him ask him if the one's name was Matilda. Of course it was. So even his dogs from his childhood were gathering with the rest of the family. So she would come up every other week. We'd normally try to do a session with her, and more insight was relayed. And this went on for maybe about 5 months. In the interim, it was diagnosed that he had stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and he was in his mid-80s, so they really weren't going to do anything. But they had told him that he would not really be in any pain. So he was able to just take Tylenol the whole time, and he was spared the pain that sometimes accompanies cancer. So anyhow, he passed, and I got a whole bunch of stories about that I won't bother. But anyhow, she is kept in contact. Casey comes up to grace us with her presence, and she's become very psychically skilled. I mean, like, her eyes were open through all of this, and she's amazing now. I mean, as far as a lot of the psychic skills, I mean, she's way above me. And she also is getting the courage to activate it and use it when spirit tells her on behalf of someone else. Well, anyhow, this is last Saturday.
Just so you know, you need to tell her, not to cut you off, but you have to give a message, because I just got it loud, that you have to tell her that
yes, yeah,
that's her thing, and that's how the word isn't used. That's how they're getting her abilities flexed.
Okay.
Not being used, but that's why it's happening fast, because she's open to it. She's going, okay, put me where I need to go and tell me what I need to say. And that's why she's fast tracking.
Well, last week, and her mother is a wild spirit. She's a party girl, like, really, I mean, out there, energetic. And
go, firecracker.
So meanwhile, I'm like, I'm saying, Peggy, I said, your mother's behind you, but she's real sedate. And she goes, yeah, I know she's there. And she goes, she's worried about my husband. And I said, she is. And then I guess spirit sort of clued me in, and I realized what was going on. It was a very serious health concern. Here, his brother lives in New Zealand, and he's going to be going open heart surgery, and wanted him to fly in to help rehabilitate him. And he was going. He'd gotten his ticket. Well, evidently, she comes to the realization they've been watching her husband for a couple years. He is an irregular protein, which suggests he might have multiple myeloma. They haven't diagnosed it yet, but there's some concerns. And so she says he'll never come back home alive. And she lost it. I mean, it hit her right there. And so we actually had guests who were just visiting, staying in the room, and they were observing. I'm like, oh my gosh, what are these guests thinking?
You're right,
So
right.
we talked afterwards, and I said, would your husband go with you to his doctor and let his doctor see what's going on and make that determination whether he should go? So she's been in constant contact. So I will definitely let her know what you said, Cisco. Well, meanwhile, they did go. They did a number of tests, and the doctor told him, no, Mike, I don't think you'll survive the trip, or else he could get over there and maybe have a major cardiac event.
Not be able to get back
home. So he's listened to that. He's canceled his tickets, and now obviously that may have saved things temporarily, but she still has a husband dealing with a serious issue.
right.
But Spirit's been reinforcing on a constant basis. And the other day, she saw a piece of paper on the sidewalk, picked it up, and had a few words on it. It said, trust in the Lord. So she's on a constant daily sustenance. And but anyhow, hopefully, at the very least, maybe we've spared her the issues of losing,
Of making it, yeah, even worse. But
we take this very serious. I mean,
oh, absolutely. Oh, guys, absolutely,
you know,
we do this. All of us, every single one of us, you know, and I can't say it, you know, like a professional career that I was going to look. I do me. You know what I'm saying? It's like no job is going to tell me, you know, whatever. I'll just change job. So this is such an important thing. And I'm wondering if a lot of people in the chat are also getting that, like, wow, I'm so awake right now. Wow, I'm really seeing things I didn't see before. I'm seeing it on multiple levels. Lynn's shaking her head. Yes, I know Jim has seen it. And it's all around us. And it's going to continue. And it's going to escalate even more so. And all we're doing is stay in the middle. Jim said a thing here about faith, and I want to touch a couple things here. Something I've learned very viciously in the past 3 years has escalated. And a message that definitely has to get up. Here you are in an earth plane here. This is so physical, third dimension world right here. Okay. You're not that being. You are a spiritual being that is used to being free, that is being anchored here for out of choice, out of, you know, choosing to come at this time to help people through. Most of you have probably been fast trackers, went through made a lot of bad choices, but you paid attention, you learned. Didn't mean you stopped making bad choices, because that's how you learn. You also learn by going through pain, by going through suffering. It says so in the Bible, hearts will break, bones will break. We have got to get out of the mindset that by having faith and trusting means it's going to turn out the way you want it to turn it out.
No, you're right.
That is the biggest, that is the number one thing we get wrong, folks. And again, this is just my opinion, but if we could just accept that fact and go, it's that you're going to be caught and you're going to be fine either way, because this is what your spirit came here on this journey to go through. And nobody learns by going through stuff and having an easy path of it. You go through because you picked the rocky trail. Hands up, you picked the rocky trail. I'm telling you right now, half of us been running in the briars in the thicket all our lives and just leaping over trees and banging our heads and breaking legs and falling over and getting back up and go, woo, I won't do that again. But we do more stuff. And we have children like that are fast trackers, because that whole soul group that's coming in now is that way. But I want you to look at it this way. And I'm being told to tell this story, so this isn't me. Take it for what it's worth. This isn't me. There's a young boy, and he sees, he's out, you know, kicking around in the woods, whatever, and he sees a cocoon, and the cocoon's moving. And he sees that a butterfly is starting to work its way out of this cocoon. And it's a young boy. He's, you know, he's got compassion. You would think, okay, he's going to pick up a stick and whack it. But no, not this kid. This kid's looking at the struggle and feeling a compassion of, this is terrible. This fight, it looks awful. And, this poor little butterfly, I need to help it. So the poor, the kid goes up to the butterfly and the cocoon, and he starts trying to pull pieces just a little bit, as delicate as he possibly could, just to free the butterfly that he noticed was struggling. What do you think happened? The butterfly finally broke free, and for a fleeting second, that young boy looked up and got to see that butterfly catch the air and flap its wings 2, 3, 4 times. And then it collapsed into the ground and died. Because it did not have the struggle to strengthen the wings and the muscles and the fibers and everything it needed to get through what it was going to need in life. Every single one of you are butterflies that struggled, and now you're floating. And so much so that you take time out of your day and out of your time and out of your thoughts to look how you can help others. That is a light worker. Anybody you want to add?
No, I agree that we're light workers, but also right now the veil is very, very thin. Yeah. So, and also our energy is increasing. There's a special time we're going to be coming more from our hearts than our heads. Right now we're more head driven, and then the heart follows. But we're going to be coming into a time where we're going to even have a sixth sense that we don't have right now, which is going to open up for a lot of people. And it's not going to force it on people if they don't want to use it. If they're in fear, they'll still shut it down. But those of us that are seeking, we're going to have that sixth dimension and that ability to, almost like when you're on the other side, when you connect with someone, even a flower, you feel the life pulsating in it. And when you're working from your heart chakra and you connect with another person, even somebody that appears to be distressed, you connect in with them in such a way that you can almost see that life that they've had. You can feel what they're feeling. You know how they got to the position that they're in of suffering, and you have more compassion and empathy for them, and that ability to help them in a different way, instead of saying, damn, you kicked my foot, how dare you? You may not realize that they've got a knee jerk because they have Parkinson's, and they've got Parkinson's because, the list goes on, but you will be more aware of that. So your reaction will be more loving and kind as well.
I agree. Like Elder said, look, when you're trading herbs and trying to help people and things like that, and they said, well, the best healer of a broken leg is somebody who's had a broken leg.
Exactly.
We can say these, from one end to the other. We forget these things, and why we're here to remind each other, because this is where you come to get your lights recharged, so you can go out in that dark world and last another week, and come back here and not just survive, but thrive the life you are in now. Because everybody's telling you got to survive this, you got to face this fear, you got to do this. No, thrive. Because at this point, light workers, try to get to that point where you're just standing in this storm, this whirlwind of just nutty stuff, and just kind of smiling, because that's how you get other people to come toward the light, because they go, man, I want some of that. Now you can put a Christian line on that. You can put that it's in the Bible, and it's the words written in red, and it's in a lot of other things that get the core message of love. Energy is the strongest thing out there, and we are here to help and learn from each other. Plain and simple. And Board Texas is asking, what if we are tired of the struggle? When does it stop? Honey, it doesn't. Well, and that is the absolute truth.
It's going to get worse right now before it gets better, but towards the end of the year, we should be shifting into a little bit of a different time.
Exactly. But the thing is this, if you're tired of the struggle, I get that. We all are, and you got to find ways of recharging. So you go back and you go to your basic grounding, nothing big, like Jim was just saying. Go back, hug a tree, go out and work in the garden, listen to music, dance barefoot in the kitchen, dance barefoot in the grass if you can. Try to connect to earth, watch Mother Nature. If you can only afford say $15, go buy a bag of birdseed and a small Dollar Tree bird feeder and put it right outside your window, and drink your coffee and listen to the birds sing, because everything outside that window was put here to regenerate the earth, the cycle of the earth and, that whole circle of life, as well as you are a part of it. And for years and years and years, they've tried to separate human beings from the outside and that connection, and shut down with fluoride and everything else, your pineal gland, everything that just opened on Jim's friend, because she was connected into that spiritual world. She brought a little back with her, and she decided to run with it, and it just blossomed fast. This is the kind of thing, everything is accelerating. So the angst you feel, you need to find a way to get rid of that. Do the shower where you just imagine the water is just this golden protecting light, crown chakra, and close your eyes and just chant a mantra that you believe in. All negative must leave, only positive can remain. Regenerate and connect back into source. Imagine it all going down into the drain, and then you need to pull something up and recharge. And that's what you do when you get together with a chat like this, and everybody's greeting each other across the world, and we are throwing that love out there, and those love connections and that kindness. That's light. That's how you survive it. You connect into whatever light recharges you. Plain
It's
and
very,
simple.
very true. I wanted to say one thing really quick. I
Go ahead.
can't see the chat.
I'm going to get some hot water. Take it over, guys. I'll be right back.
I'm looking at another. When I look away, I'm not being disrespectful. I'm looking at another screen over here. And if I'm squinting, it's not that I'm falling asleep. I've got light in my eyes. So I keep trying to move my camera. So I don't want to have you think that I'm being rude. So just letting everybody know.
I was going through some of my tapes the other day. I encountered one a long time ago. We got on Gettysburg Field, and I used to take groups out on the field and pass out little recorders, and we walk around, and then I gather them up and see what the people got. And this one, the guy's there, and he's there, and he goes, "You guys are a bunch of losers." This is on. You guys are a bunch of losers, and his voice comes in real clear and goes, "You're a nitwit." And I looked it up, and evidently the term nitwit was first used in 1910. So this wasn't Civil War soldiers calling the guy a nitwit, but some energy was out there and took offense to that. But I thought it was funny.
That is funny.
Say, "You're a nitwit."
There's so much cool stuff that happens in this, guys. This is the point I'm trying to get at. If you're a paranormal investigator, and like Lynn says, she comes on the show, this is next level. This is next. We're done with the basic stuff. We're up into the how many different things are going on here, because in any case you're looking at, like if you have this circle, whether it's in Leslie Flint's dedicated circle. Now, these people would meet like about 4 or 5 times a year, maybe a little bit more. They all agreed to come in, not to hear so much from their loved ones and like some kind of a selfish thing, but to just come together as one to learn and to help anyone who needed help at the time. And let the spirit guides choose. That's what you guys do, Jim.
Well, and your friend Cisco, who used to live here near Gettysburg, but moved out west. What's the gentleman's name and his wife?
Steve. Are you talking about Steve and his wife?
No, because he was west and moved.
Steve's back over this way,
right?
Because you went one time on the bash. You went that evening. You went to a session he was having. I had been invited, but I had other things, and you went up.
Yeah. Oh gosh, man, I'm drawing an absolute blank.
And he's got his own technique he's developed, and he basically contacts a lot of times important people or even religious, and he's put out several books, really fascinating works. God, I can't think of his name.
I'm an absolute blank. Can you imagine?
But
I've got absolutely no recall of anything. It's just like I'm seeing a black.
Yeah, his sessions remind me a lot of what I was hearing with Leslie.
Oh yeah, okay.
God,
Almost had it.
Wow.
Well, that's the thing. So I was getting so much because, again, guys, my mods and my chat understand that when I get around, friends like this, it takes like the first hour just to get everything is resonating. Like a bunch of tuning forks just got hit. So we're getting all kinds of downloads and information right now. It's like, say this, maybe that's why they're blocking that, because they want to go, no, we want to go over here, so I'm like, okay.
Wow.
So that's why I'm not trying so hard to remember. I'll remember later. It'll pop up clear as the day, and I'll think like I'm an idiot for not remembering it. But they're constructing this. So when I got up and got hot water for my tea, I'm hearing that they want this to happen again because there's so much material there. And I'm actually getting that there was somebody involved in the group, don't know who, whether it was the group there or worked with the Leslie Foundation or something like that, or some of the spirits that did, but they're coming in and go, they want to continue this because what they want us to do is if Jim and Lynn would like to do so once a month or however it works for schedules, come through and take a couple of these spirit cases and like do small grouping of things that all talk about what was it like when you first crossed over, or what was it like when you got there, and once you got through all your stuff, what are you doing now? How do you help others? Because I think tonight what I'm getting and what I was getting earlier today was how spirit that is connected to, so I'm just going to use Jim and Lynn right now, like we were sitting around a table, okay? And we're doing this. So Jim's spirit guides, okay, whatever ones are in his life right now. Some have been there the whole time. Some are popping in just for now. Same with Lynn. Same with me. Then you have the special ones who pop in for just now in your life that might just pop in to help you do one thing or to help you to get through one thing.
Yep.
Then you have the spirits on the other side that are helping them, that's their specialty. With Leslie Flint, it was Mickey. It was a young kid that died early. We'll go over that.
Right.
And then you've got those spirits that are bringing in other spirits for different reasons. Do you have something important to say? Somebody living needs a message. All of this is happening at the same time, but that's what's happening at Jim's. And I think with you too, Lynn, you're meeting lots of people, right? That this is happening.
Yes. And a lot of people are coming forward because they've seen podcasts and things, and they send me emails asking questions, and they're like, I had this, and this happen. And, but, and I try to help them in any way that I can. But when you were speaking about the other side too, my mom comes through every once in a while. And this is one thing that I love to share, because people, when they cross, they talk about before crossing over, I wonder about eating, because everybody loves to eat. And so my mother comes through every once in a while like a megaphone, and she told me, because I asked her, I said, Mom, don't you ever miss the taste of potato salad or the brownies that you used to make, or barbecued ribs? And she comes through and she says, well, here we don't eat. And I'm like, well, yeah, I know that. And she said, but we do everything by thought. She said, so like, for instance, if we think of somewhere that we want to go, we think of it and we're instantly there. She said, and when it comes to food, all that we have to do is think about it, and the taste and the sensation of eating it comes to us as if we are really eating it. And I thought that was really interesting. So yes, you don't, you don't get to go to the barbecue, but if you want to taste the ribs, all you have to do is think of them, and you basically have that flavor come.
Oh, that really rings true too. We lost a dear friend who was a gifted psychic medium last year. And we had a memorial service for her yesterday at the Hoover House. And we had over 40, almost 50 people came down. A lot of them from, 7-8 hour drives. We had a sister of hers came in from Atlanta with her husband. And it was wonderful. She was there, very emotional. So it was sort of cute at the end. People would get up and make a few remarks, remembrances. Anyhow, at the end, this woman was very much about food. And so myself and about 3 or 4 other psychics, and while I was in the room, go like, all right, Holly says, enough of this, no more tears, let's eat. And that's how the service ended. And I had given a blessing previously on the food so they could shift right into that mode. But just as you were talking about that with your mother, we were in contact with another friend who had passed within the year, and we were asking them about that thought process and traveling. That was one of the things they remarked about, that they were still sort of thrilled about the aspect that all they had to do is think about transporting to a place or location,
Pizza.
and they were there, and so that was still, they've been gone about a year. That was still a thrill to them.
It's amazing. And you
Yeah.
can have, and again, time is
Mhm.
nothing. So it could be 10
Yeah.
years and they're still deciding. I've got a couple. It's absolutely, sorry guys. I got some tea, went down the wrong way. I had to get up and just cough it all out. But anyway, it's amazing to me how much goes on over there. And I think
Mhm.
the last time we were here, the one that they wouldn't let you in, Jim, for whatever reason. We just have to trust it to the spirits. That's something we
Yeah.
say
Oh
all the
yeah.
time.
No. Yeah.
The spirits change
Well,
their
meant to be.
mind, and it's all right on time. It's all
Yeah.
right on time. So the amazing thing is, to me again, is the amount of help that others give on the other side, and it's all free will.
Yes.
So last time we were here, we were talking about, I think, Lynn, you had picked a young soldier. Do you want to
Mhm.
briefly tell a little bit about that one? It was amazing how the first thing that happened with him when he realized he was dead, he was running.
Oh
And
yes.
tell just a
Yeah.
little bit.
Well, and that was on one of the tapes that I listened to about this show. He was talking about how he was on the ground and he was running, and all of a sudden he like heard this explosion, and he just kept on running, and he couldn't understand why he's running towards the enemy, and the enemy's running towards him, and then he passes them, going in the opposite direction, running right through the enemy. And why didn't they shoot at me? Why did he's not understanding why they're not trying to capture him or to get him. And then he continues on going, and he runs into his friend who had passed away a little while before in the war, had been killed in the war, and there's his buddy still in his army stuff or whatever he had on, his uniform. And he's like, and he approached him, and he tried to tell the guy that he was dead, and the guy's like, no, I'm not dead. No, I'm not. He argued with him because he felt the same as he did when he was in his body. He was still moving forward in that motion, and he didn't even realize that when he heard that blast that it killed his physical body, and his soul came out of it and kept on going. And that's another thing too, people, I wanted to mention. If ever you are in an accident or something and it is your time to pass, no, it doesn't hurt. Your soul usually ejects before the impact occurs, just in case you wanted to know ever. Something like
Such
that.
an important piece of information. So anybody that's ever lost a loved one and they said, did they suffer or whatever? And no, when the person goes, no, they're and it's instantaneous, almost the feeling of relief that they get.
And that doesn't mean that their body's still not breathing, because a lot of times people will leave their body way ahead of time, even a day before, and just leave the physical body there to finish. So if your loved one's been in an accident and they're having all of this work done on them and it looks like it's not going to work out type thing, or they're put on even like a ventilator or something, the soul's not in there. The physical body's working through. Now the soul can come back and forth in there if it chooses to come back in, or sometimes you'll have a walk-in come through if that's the thing too. But just because they're still breathing doesn't mean that they're feeling anything on a soul level.
Right. And it also doesn't mean that they don't hear you when you're talking to them. I want to make sure that that they're probably standing right there, but they're probably right next to you, and they're going in and out. They're going, a little bit here to realize what's happening, coming back. Everybody's individual, different.
That's true.
But we see this a lot in some kind of combination of those things.
That's true.
Because here's the thing, guys. They, a lot of people don't need the help. They need the help before, during and after. It's not just one thing. So what I tell people again, and I don't want to get too much into this one, but I always try to send happy thoughts and energy up, and try to, you can be sad, but I always say try to finish it with laughter and a smile. So if a song comes on and reminds you and it makes you very sad, you're going to have to, work through. It's very healthy to work through that sadness, but then try to finish it with that. Yeah, but hey, remember that time we went to the fair, or we went to that movie, or we were that we were painting the kitchen and we were laughing so hard or whatever, and try to leave it on a smile, because what you're doing is giving them energy. You're
Mhm.
giving it to yourself and you're giving it to them. We've got lots of experiments and stuff that we've done about that, but we also have a lot of uh, wonderful information left by these terrific people. Now, I'm going to briefly mention this. Anybody, Jim asked earlier, I wonder if the dark side's working against us. Absolutely. And
Yes.
we have to fight it all the time, doing podcasts, doing radio shows. We get drained, we get whatever. I was just listening to a thing, Amy Allen, and talking about, and I pretty much knew why she was, getting out of it. But anyway, the public statement that she put out was, again, it's physically draining. That
It
being
is.
on that, it put her in the hospital near death several times. And people do not realize what people put themselves through. Jim said it too. It drains you. You have to learn
Mhm.
how to rebuild it back. You have to do all the things that work, what works for you, but you also have to believe in it, have that faith in that intent, right? And that's
Mhm.
also what gives it, because I think that's a way we put some of our energy in it. So Rob Guttrow tells us, eat chocolate before because it raises your endorphins. Sing raises your endorphins. All of the things that make you feel better. Do salt baths, do all the things. But you're going to have to continue to do those. If you are going through your daily and taking on this news and the events and the social media and the BS and the family and the stuff, and you're not doing something to regenerate yourself, you're going to be drained, because this is the light worker. This is the Olympics. This is where you have to get all your tools are in the box, and you open the lid and there they are. Love, light, connecting with tribe, connecting with like-minded people, avoiding energies. You do not have to let the energies in any more than a ghost has to do whatever. Free will. And that's why a lot of these people get stuck temporarily or for whatever. And we listened to a man that was, his name was Fred last time. And he came through and he was talking about how all these spirits got together just to bring in a total stranger that was on a lower vibrational level and having a hard time dealing with the things he dealt with in life, PTSD, war, anger, being accused of something he didn't do, what he died, the whole shebang. Brought him in to talk to these people at the table because this was going to help this earthbound ghost work out his stuff and do it on his own and choose to move to the next level. And it's an amazing thing. There's so many levels here, guys. So I want to go back and talk again about Leslie Flint. Now, Lynn and I already discussed this about direct voice medium. Did you ever understand completely how it works with a direct voice medium, Jim?
No, I mean, obviously, I haven't experienced anything like that. So it really fascinates me.
It is.
Yeah.
Had you heard anything about um one of the things, let me put it together this way. If I was to imagine, I could wrap my head very easily around the idea of trance medium, which is several people are now. Again, there's so many different kinds of what your combination may be. But with Sybil Leek and Ethel Myers, which is who Hans Holzer worked with quite a bit, they were trance mediums, and I was used to having Hans go in there and talk directly to the spirit or the ghost through Ethel and or whoever he was working with at that time, and they would answer because they she's given them permission to jump in. She's channeling.
Right.
She's given them permission to come in and use her physicalities to speak. So you might hear a gruff, but it's mostly her voice, her vocal cords, her physicalities that this ghost has temporarily jumped in, like one of my jumpers, and now is communicating. And even still, if you go back and you read the transcripts from so many Hans Holzer or whoever it may be that uses this technique, you find out the communication is still choppy. And you wonder why they just don't come out and say, look, I'm mad. I didn't know I was dead. Now I'm stuck here. I don't want to leave because my rotten wife or my darn brother or this guy shot me or whatever. They're just not clear. And it takes a while to come through. And we found, Jim, the last week we were listening to was absolutely fascinating, that when spirits brought through an earthbound spirit that had never used this technique before, you can hear the struggle of them trying to work out how it's done.
Yeah.
And because they actually have to, because everything is telepathic, they have to try to remember how they sounded, how their voice sounded, and then they have to think about that and send it out into this mechanism that I'm going to let Miss Green explain. It is absolutely phenomenal. The other interesting thing is you can tell the definite difference between a spirit who's never done this before and one that's come in, just like you, Jim, just like, you, Lynn, when they've come back and forth a few times, even 2 or 3, they're familiar with it. They jump right in. All right, what do you want to know? It's like this big difference. We did a little experiment. Go ahead.
I have a question for both
Sure.
you and Lynn, Cisco. And this relates to me, and I guess indirectly with all this. I never feel I have any kind of control. I often feel I'm simply a conduit or a tool for the spirits. I sometimes see them very vividly, very clear. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I hear them like they're next to me talking. Sometimes they plant very distinct images in my head so that I can, if they want to emphasize the way they met their death or some tragic circumstance. I mean, unfortunately, I've seen some pretty grim things. And then sometimes it's just, but I have no control over this process. I mean, it's just strictly on them. And that's like I tell people oftentimes, I consider myself just a strong empath. I don't know what my list is, but people will oftentimes, after we've done it, they go, "Well, you a medium?" I said, "I don't think so." I said, "The only thing I know is I think I'm very strongly tied in with the other side, and I know why." I went through a period of about 10 years where I lost an infant child to SIDS, my mother, my dad, my father-in-law. We went through death for 10 years. It was constant. Every month or two, someone dear and near to me. And it just gave me, I oftentimes say I feel I have one foot in the other realm. And that's what brought me in. I didn't have any near-death experiences, but that developed things in me. But they'll plan. I mean, sometimes it'll be so clear. And I can, relate that. And then sometimes the images, generally speaking now, when I do a crossover, I ask spirit to transmit to me what they're seeing.
Yes.
Seeing. And so I sort of know how they're progressing toward the light. And then we always call on 3 heavenly messengers. We call to come forward and assist. And I can generally see that transpiring, and I sort of guide them from there. That's probably been the most reliable sighting that I can do. But how does it work with y'all? I mean, do you feel you have any kind of control? And then bringing this back to Leslie too. In other words, he obviously had very good control on being able to bring forward this kind of communication. So I'm just marveled at that.
I think it had also a lot to do with your guides, and I'll just say this, and then Lynn, you tell how it works for you. I think it has a lot to do with you and your guides, who you're working with, and what you're accepting. So if you look at the whole thing about angel numbers, 1111. The minute you start realizing and you go, "Hey, thank you so much, 1111. I needed a smile today." Angel number, however you want to look at it. I look at it as a positive thing, like, "Hey, you're on track," like a mile marker. But I recognize it. I state that I recognized it. And once you start doing that, they come faster and more. Just like the well-worn path of going through a medium or somebody working with a spirit guide and bringing in a spirit or an earthbound that has been through before to communicate. It's like walking through the woods. The first time you got to break the trail and work through all the weeds and sort it all out, figure your direction. But once you've tamped down a little bit of grass and some weeds, it gets a little easier each time. Think about it coming in that way. Now, to answer your question, Jim, as far as I'm concerned, this is different with each medium. It changes with whoever it is. There's no right and wrong way. It's basically they're showing through your guide and with some assistance that they're showing you a dozen red roses because they want to say abundant love to this person, because you see the roses and that means a lot of love to you. Or you see a banana, and because you slipped on a banana once, they might show you banana peel and go, just like the time you stepped on the banana peel and slipped, you would say, did somebody have a fall? It's just they're using images, songs, titles, anything that they can come up with that you're going to recognize. It's kind of like charades. Is it not? It's kind of like paranormal charades. It's like, it sounds like, because
that's like
exactly.
My brother-in-law, who never was tied into any of this since we started the table tipping. Oh my gosh. I mean, it's amazing how Bob's progressed. I mean,
he's amazing. Yeah. I told him he would too. I walked right up into him and he laughed. Did he not laugh when I went up and told him that?
As a follow-up on that, though, am I being remiss, or is it okay? I mean, I'm just assuming Spirit will let me know what I'm supposed to know in terms of communicating that person or whatever. And so I'm fine. I'm fine with the way it is, but I just want to be sure that I'm not remiss, that I'm not doing something I should be to help Spirit better communicate through me. I don't know.
The only thing I would tell them is what you just did. I would say it out loud to them. If there's something else I can do, correct, Lynn? If there's something else I can do, like, some people use tarot cards because the pictures, the images confirm what they're already feeling. Remember when we talked about, I only use dowsing rods to confirm what I'm already feeling and making sure I'm not putting too much of me into it. Mm-hmm. That's the hardest thing, I think, for a medium, which is why we can't do it for ourselves. Yeah, and I'm not saying I'm a medium. I'm a paranormalist because nobody knows what the hell that is. Neither do I. Okay. And that's
we all are.
There you go. There you go. Lynn, go ahead. Chime in on that.
As you know, as a young child, I had more abilities, and then I went through a period of time with traditional religion that was being shoved down my throat, where I became afraid of my gifts. And then as a grown person going through that experience with the house, everything kind of came wide open for me again, because I was able to connect with people of like mind. Traditional religion, and I'm not saying anything against it, but I'm sure that you'll agree with me in the sense that a lot of times certain religions definitely make you question yourself. They make you curtail your gifts.
Stifle yourself.
Make you hide your gifts. Exactly.
Because they don't want you to have the power.
Yeah.
As soon as you realize you have that power and that connection and nothing can separate you from it.
Well, and you're also, if they find out that you have those gifts, then you condemned is not the word I'm looking for, but, because of their own discomfort with it, and they have a knowing within them that they have that gift as well, because all of us do, but because they have chosen to be afraid of it, they're also afraid of it when it gets brought up, because then it connects with that and it makes them feel very uncomfortable. With me, I see them out of my peripheral vision. I can see them at a distance. I hear my mom come through, but I lost some of my ability to hear. Some of that is kind of starting to come back. I used to be able to do both as a child. With the being able to see them thing, I can turn that on, but not off so much. I mean, if I'm in a setting like at that hotel this weekend, I turned it on. I'm seeing spirits walk everywhere, and they're running around with these EVP. They're going to take a tour, and they've, different things. And I'm like, well,
you're right there.
There's one. Hey, you missed him.
Hey.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, too, Lynn. It's also, it's not so much of. We've got this like kind of, I hate to use the term, veil of importance about it. Like you kick in the door and you start going, hey, and start asking all these questions. Mm-hmm. you're surrounded by spirits want nothing to do with you. It's like, oh, here's another one, and we hear that kind of stuff all the time in the background. But when you go in and your spirit guides have gone and collected you from different parts of wherever and brought you together as a group to go in and, you don't want anything out of it, but just to know that you tried your best to help somebody, a total stranger that happens to be dead. And you go in there and you do that, beautiful things happen because you're doing it for the right reason. I think a lot like the Flint a circle, and this is 60 years of information and stuff. Go ahead. I'm sorry, honey.
And it's so important too, as we mentioned too on the show as well, that, these spirits have been incarnated people and some of them are very highly educated. So when you go in and ask them to touch Blinky 3 times because you got a chill from it the first time, but you wanted to make sure everybody else saw it. So you ask them to do it again and they do it again. And then you're like, oh, well, let's make sure they do it again. And then they're telling you to get the you-know-what out. To leave because they're not trained monkeys. They're not trained monkeys. These are people who have lived on this earth. Some of them have, educations that are even higher than mine. And see, or I'm saying, than higher than the person doing it.
Yeah, and you don't assume.
People kind of talk down to them in a way. And insult. Exactly, and it is insulting. So I'm glad to see that the paranormal groups are starting to kind of come away from that. They're starting to realize that they're in someone else's home, but it is true. They do get tired of people, coming through and asking them to jump.
And it weakens them.
It does.
And again, like we have to remind ourselves, if you don't know who you're talking to, what frame of mind is that person in? What frame of mind were they in when they died? When I brought up Fred came through with Leslie, through the group. Basically, because it's a collective of the energy, guys. It's not just that Leslie, the direct voice medium. So you've got the guides that come in. I found it very interesting that usually physical mediums and trance mediums, people that you have to use a lot of physicalities, and direct voice mediums usually have a spirit guide that passed when they were young. And this is because of the energy. The vivaciousness, the natural energy of it, because it's like a little battery charger. I think that's so interesting. And they usually stand right next to them to keep giving that energy. It's incredible. You think something so simple, but it makes total sense. It's usually somebody that's, of course, gotten, ascended knowledge, and it's been around the park a couple times, But I found it very interesting, a younger energy. Makes perfect sense. Most of this stuff is plain and simple. In Tennessee, I saw what you were putting down, and I highly agree. But again, basically, here's the thing. You're all right at the same time. Nothing you're saying over here is mutually exclusive from the other unless you start putting those barriers on it. When you realize that all energy is going to exist, look, I can hook up things to a tree and it plays music. Beautiful, high vibrational music. Grass. I'm telling you right now, all of it's connected.
It is.
We're all a part of it. And almost all of what you're saying is true at the same time.
Yep.
Yes, some spirits, let me say it this way. Some souls who cross, and might pop over and do what they got to do and then come back and try to it appears like they're waiting for the rest of the family all going at one time. I wouldn't say there's a lot of cases, not that they don't exist, where the whole family comes and stays at the house and waits for grandpa to go or for granddaughter, to get married and all that. I feel like there are cases like that. I've been involved in cases where the wife has crossed over and keeps coming back to try to get the husband to go too, and he can't even see her because they're not vibrating on the same frequency. Until you could get this guy to look up, and it took a group of, how long it can be, guys. Having to tell this love and, everything is fine and trying to talk them through it. They kind of start lifting their head and they're kind of, oh, okay, what happened? What are you saying? It's kind of like they're in that fog of, I don't know what's going on. I'm just sitting here at the kitchen table like I did for 50 years or whatever case may be. Insert your issues, your facts there. But here comes the wife he's not moving because he loves his wife and he doesn't understand what's going on and he doesn't know where she is and he's just doing what he's normal. He's stuck in his own little box. Until you get him to look out that box, he's not going to see everything that's up here vibrating at this level. Am I correct?
That's true.
There
You
it
know,
is.
yeah. And when you see
But not
spirits-
everybody comes and stays and waits. It can happen. It's free will.
No, and we
Well-
found too when someone's very recently passed, and it differs. You know, there's I don't understand the table or how any of that works yet. We're always asking questions, but oftentimes if it's a first time, it's limited. Now we generally use an EM pump. I have a real strong EM pump. Lets us have a little longer sessions, but even more important, takes less of our energy out, because without the pump, we're just
That
dead
says so much. So there's a great hint, guys, and Lynn's shaking her head, and everybody, ought to understand. You're putting out, so you're basically putting out like a battery
Yeah.
for them to draw energy on, so they're not pulling it from you, which is even a little bit safer in a lot of ways, because again, most of the times that we come on here or other people come on and go, don't use a Ouija board, don't do this, don't do that. Basically what we're saying is don't give something you don't know what it is. You don't know what it is. You might think you know, and all your filters are saying it might be okay, but you don't really know. And now you're giving that total stranger permission to jump in your body and use your hands to move a planchette or to jump in your body and channel or to whatever. And you don't have your spirit guide set up to filter that and protect you and not let it go too far. I was in the basement. Jim saw me get jumped, and I'm holding up my hand going, I'm okay, everybody. Because she's literally showing me the last thing, her death echo, I guess. She's showing me what she went through when she trusted and was disappointed in the human being that she thought was a friend or whatever and was killing her. And she's putting me through this, and I can feel the crushing of my throat, except it wasn't outside. And it was more inside, like something was doing this like she just stuck her hand in and just squeezed my throat on the inside. But I didn't feel, I know that sounds weird, I didn't feel threatened. What does that mean? It meant my guides had me. I was in a good room with good intent. I had the protection put on me. I had all the things, and she was able to show me what was going on. And that was another piece of the puzzle, right, Jim?
Yeah, and let me ask both of you ladies too, because of all your vast experience. One of the things that I'm most humbled by and just really enjoy the most when I'm doing communication, and mine is again through this table, is most of the time I'll say, I am able to pick up on the energy of that individual, like the demeanor of that individual. And especially, there are some people that were so noble, so wonderful, so really highly elevated from both a spiritual base and a growth base, that it's a privilege to sort of rub elbows with them. And being able to pick up that kind of energy and that kind of love and really caring for others from another thing, it's hard to describe, but it's healing in its own right. You're always uplifted by it, and it's such a privilege. And so when I finish, even though maybe we've had like 10 minutes or whatever connecting with that person, you really have a feel for that person and what they were about and their life. Now it goes the other way. Sometimes it's not at all pleasant, and I try to cut things short. Sometimes it's rather quite nasty, but that to me is one of the neatest things, and I don't know how to explain it, but it's real. I mean, you can really feel that.
Right.
Yes.
And
Is that something both of you encounter as well?
absolutely.
I can definitely
On so
feel
many
it.
levels.
Yeah.
On so many
Yeah.
levels. I mean,
Yeah.
the thought of, I'm trying to read in the chat too, and I get it. There's no answers. But these are all theories based on 50 years of research. Does that mean I'm right? No.
No.
And his mindset and his consciousness is where Jim's is, and Lynn's is where hers are. What blows my mind is that we could all have separate paths do separate things, have separate experiences, and come up with the same answers where we're sitting now that we're comfortable with, because it resonates, because I feel it resonates that way because it's true. And it has to do with, you can reach out and have Bigfoot to this, whatever,
Oh, yeah.
fairies, everything you
Yep.
want to bring in,
Yep.
aliens, all kinds of things. There's more out there that anybody can imagine. What intrigues me is how much the people on the other side are concerned with us now, that are coming here to help us now. And that's why the veil is thinning, and the consciousness is raising, and people are getting downloads, and all this stuff is happening, and why so many spirits and places like the Hoover House, which, congratulations, you won. A lot of people are in here voting for you guys and pushed
Yes,
you over. They
thank
won the
you.
contest. They
Thanks
won the
to
contest.
everyone. Thanks
Yeah.
to everyone. So
We wanted to push you over, man. They worked hard and was voting.
it is a struggle, especially,
Yeah.
with the economy and
Oh, yeah.
the utility costs and stuff.
Yeah. And
it's-
keeping history alive. And you guys
But
are doing so much
I-
historic
I-
stuff out
I
there. And they
sus-
see this. Of
I
course, they're going to
suspect
assist you.
spirits had a big part
Yeah.
of trying to.
I think they set it up from the beginning, because you can talk to any one of my, my medium friends that handle, whatever dark cases and stuff like that too, because not everybody will. And some don't even ask. They just go in and walk in the door and go, okay, where is it? Like the little Tangina, this house is clean. Those are the kind I like. It's like no nonsense. It's just like, it doesn't matter. We're going to take it all out,
Yeah.
but
Yes,
and we'll sort it out later.
Thanks to all those and anybody in the audience who helped.
Oh,
us.
yeah. We wanted to
Thank
see you
so
get it.
much.
Yeah.
Because it's
Yeah.
important to keep the history and everything alive. And I do think spirit's driven. And I think the information that's coming out now is spirit driven, because they want to, I believe, now this is just my opinion at this time, I believe it's because we needed it this time. We need it
do.
for what's
That's
coming.
true.
We look back at what you just went through over the past 20 something years.
Yep.
You know what I'm talking about. You can feel it,
Mhm. Yes.
especially if you're in this chat. And you also know, if you're in this chat, that everybody, it gets to receive this information on the conscious level that they are at this moment. It doesn't mean that they're right or wrong. It means this is how they're seeing the information now, and it's resonating with them. It could change in 5 minutes. It could change in 5 years. It's at their time, just like spirit and ghosts. That's
Absolutely.
why when you leave, one of the things I am so comfortable saying is that when you cross over in the way you leave. And what do I mean by that? Where your thoughts, your mind, where you're resonating at the time. And that is definitely going to affect your experience when you cross over. Now, does that mean if you died a traumatic death, you're going to, no, that's not what I'm saying. Don't misunderstand me. Your mind, your vibration, your thoughts, you're responsible for those. You're responsible for your mindset. When other things try to take you out, and you're getting spiritually, however you want to say it, little darts thrown at you, because you're hearing all that little stuff like, she really doesn't mean that. She's really talking about, whatever crack you have that it's pushing on and pushing buttons, you just nope, and change it, raise that vibration, it'll go away, because
Guys,
you change the vibration.
Right back.
Go ahead.
I got to feed my dog here.
Go ahead, sweetheart. Take your time.
Right back.
So that's the thing. And Lynn, am I telling you the truth, right? I'm
Yeah.
sick and tired of hearing mediums out there, or anybody that says whatever title they want. It doesn't matter. That are telling people there's definite things, that every car accident is held back for whatever. Every suicide. No. It's up to the individual. And if a ghost that you're trying to get from a house or a property does not want to leave, I'm not going to make it go. But it depends on the situation that's in there. If the living are there, then they have a choice too. Like, look, it's like a bartender. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. And there's no arrogance behind that. I understand they have free will, but so do the people living, and so do I. And I know that it's not in your best interest to hang out and stay here for another 500 years till somebody else comes along and reminds you what the light looks like. But if you choose you want to stay in that dark box, that's your choice. I just want to leave you with the knowledge that you can come out of it anytime you want. That's where I'm sitting. Lynn, where are you at?
No, I totally agree with that too. Nobody's wrong here. And anybody in the field that would come forward and say that they are an expert, there is no such thing as an expert in this field.
Nope.
I mean, every single time that you think that you have this down pat, it throws you a curveball. You then have other avenues that you learn from. Those curveballs are all, helping you constantly grow. I mean, I just ran into one with elementals. Who knew?
Who knew?
Yeah. So
Because you need to be strengthened in that area. That's how I look at it.
yes.
Because when we wait and we go back, we go 10 years and look back and go, oh, that's when I was getting strengthened in that area.
That's
I mean, how many
right.
other people are doing this?
That's true.
And you should be paying attention.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. So it's
you go.
whatever works for you. The most important thing is that you're connected and that you honor that. It doesn't matter how it happens or how you go about it. Maybe one person does it by pulling his right ear, and another person does it by sitting in meditation, and another person does it by standing on their head. It doesn't matter as long as you are aware of your connectedness with your source.
Mhm,
So
mhm. Jack's got a great question here. I'd love to hit it real quick, and then I want to play just a little thing that kind of tells everybody about a little bit about who Leslie Flint was, because I feel that this is what we needed to say tonight.
mhm.
And then we're going to meet again, and let's do this again, because we're going to go out into our worlds, and we're going to have our journeys the way we're doing it, and then come back and see if these things don't start matching up. Then I had also asked the chat on our last show about this, and I showed them the page, and I said, go in there and just pick one or two recordings, see what resonates with you, which one are you drawn to, and see if there's a message in there that hits you right now for today. You want to know if there's spirit guides out there, then ask them for help. I believe it is a real spirit, but I think everything has a spirit. I believe, trees can be, cats can be, dogs can be, people you knew, people who were never humans before, enlightened beings, angels, the whole shebang. And they come in when you need them the most. I believe you're born with one or more that stays with you the whole time. Getting
That's
to death,
true.
probably multiple lives, same one, And then you might have 5 jump in at one point in time in your life because that's what you need. And guess what? They're learning too.
That's true.
This is all a
Mhm.
constant information exercise constantly. You never stop learning. It's not dead and done. But
Yep.
that's what I feel about it. And just about anything can be a spirit guide, from an elemental to, so many.
Exactly. And I totally agree with Cisco here. Jack, how many times have you maybe been in the grocery store or been in your house, and you're thinking, you're walking down an aisle and you pass by, say, the butter, and you're like, oh, and something says to you, buy butter. But yet you say, oh no, I think I've got enough butter at home. And then you get home
Little
and
things.
you make a baked potato, and then you open the refrigerator and there's no butter. And you're like, darn, I should have listened to that. Your guide is that little voice, that little voice that tells you certain things to make it easier, like you misplaced your keys. Oh, well, all of a sudden you're redirected into a direction, and there they are. It's that little voice. That is your guardian angel talking to you. And we all hear it. Some of it's more of a feeling, but really you do hear it. It's a feeling,
and it might
that
be
you can hear, if that
something
makes
big.
sense.
It might be, don't go down that road.
That's right.
It
That's
might be
absolutely right.
intuition.
Along that avenue, a dear friend of mine made a route out of New York down Pennsylvania toward Philly, quite often. And one time he's doing that, and this voice tells him, take exit 38, say. So he's like, well, I know that exit. There's nothing there. So he goes a little further down the road, and again, take exit 38. So about the third time he hears it, so he says, okay, I'll take exit 38. So anyhow, here comes exit 38. He takes it. There's nothing there. He pulls off the side of the road, gets out of his car. He says, okay, I'm here, Lord. What is it you wanted to tell me or see, or what can I do? Gets nothing. Gets back in his car, heads, starts to complete his journey. A couple minutes up the road, 20-car pileup, all kind of crap. And then he spends the rest of the night saying, thank you, Lord.
Yep. There you go. There you go.
Just those kind of things. And then
all that's included. Yeah.
You learn, once you start hearing the voice or the word or the instinct, and then you start to learn to listen to it and act on it. And that's when life gets very rich, because and hopefully everyone out there listening to this tonight knows you're never alone.
No, that is true. That is so true.
You're not alone.
You're not.
You feel it.
You're not, because they're learning too. Everything is connected, and I know a lot of people worry, because, they've been told this or that. Listen, I have been with my filters all my life. I have honed my filters all my life, even when I knew didn't know I was doing it. So when people want to know, and people tell me, okay, the grandma you talked to last night, that was a demon. No, honey, it wasn't. Because I don't care how good an actor you are. I don't care how many magical things that you have. There's no way that something that evil can come through feeling that good. It's just not allowed in the spiritual world. It's not allowed. It's like they can fake it, they can mimic, they can have stuff that's off, but your filters, listen to me. If Lynn is going, if Jim is going, whoever, I care if it's Amy Allen, Kim Russo, or Bill Bean, if we commit, this is why I'm extremely strict with what goes on in the chat. People coming in and saying, look, we've got activity in my house and I've got kids, and I'm like, stop talking about it. Stop talking about it. I have people on there, but like, stop talking about it, because they're feeding on that energy and that attention. And if you have an issue, I need to get somebody to you now. We're not going to play. This isn't a play thing. Okay. So that's it. I understand the energy. And if I'm going to go help a house like that, I start getting attacked the minute I agree in my mind.
Don't I know?
Am I right, Lynn?
Yes.
Ask anybody that knows what they're talking about if that's true, and they're going to tell you yes.
Yes, you do immediately. Yeah,
they know you're coming the minute you decide you're coming.
It's pretty bad when they know you by your first name.
But both sides can do that. Yes. And both sides do that. And you can tell the difference. And it's just no way, because you feel it coming a football field away.
Yes,
you see what I'm saying? Yeah, so there's none of that, do I think this is this? But no, I don't. I think there's good and there's bad, and I can tell the difference. Go ahead, sweetheart.
The thing is too right now is things are very thin, and there are a lot of darker things that are mimicking. My son, for instance, my grandmother, his grandmother was my mother. He was sleeping. It was about 3:00 in the morning. And normally my mother is one of his guides. She's around him frequently. He was his only, her only grandson. And so she lingers around him. And so he woke up and it was 3 a.m. He's like, Grandma, I'm sleeping. Why are you coming through now? And he noticed, and he said, go, come back later. But then he noticed as the spirit turned, it had a long lizard type tail to it. So it was something that was mimicking my mother. And the thing is it was mimicking her so that he would feel comfortable enough to let it stay or to invite it, because they have to be invited. Very, very, and a lot of psychics are saying too. I spoke to Katie Turner about this.
It can be tricky.
She said that right now, even when loved ones come over through her, she has to ask them certain questions to identify for sure that they are in fact the actual spirit. And a very easy way to clarify if something does approach you or you're not quite sure, maybe your sonar, your spirit sonar is a little bit
throw
off.
Love at it.
Yeah, because
it will recoil.
If it is your loved one, it won't recoil if it's really them, because they live in love. But if it is something that is not in love, they will recoil, and sometimes they'll
every time.
Every time.
So,
we do something similar to that with the table tip, and I always tell our audience, if you feel apprehensive, if you feel something's off or whatever, let us know immediately. We'll break, because once you've connected with that spirit and it's truly, your loved one or friend or whatever, it's invigorating. You know it in your heart.
Yeah, the whole room lifts. Right. Yeah,
I've never known something false to come through if you feel it's correct in that sense.
And it's the difference between hearing a song in a key and in a vibration and a frequency that makes you feel good, and one that makes you feel sad and downtrodden or angry. And again, there's a lot of people that like music like that because they almost use it without realizing it. They're using it in a way to almost purge feelings and emotions.
And some
So
people
they feel
like to
lighter,
feel
and
bad.
that's fine. But that's fine if it's coming to that conclusion because they're counteracting it. They're using for a positive. That's fine. It doesn't mean that everybody listens to music like that because it affects you. But
Yeah.
they're doing something else that works with that makes it good. Some are pulled down by it. Listen, if you're weak, I don't care who you are. If you're sick, if you're infirmed, if you're worried, if you're addicted, if you've got a lot of cracks in your windshield and you walk into a situation, you're immediately an easy target. You're a weak link. And
Oh,
this is
yeah.
anything in life, anything in life. So anytime that you can put putty in those cracks and you can fill it with love and glitter and happiness and things like that, you're going to be already lifted. Just saying the words lift you. Words have power.
Yes, they
And
do.
and I'm not saying fake it till you
Thoughts have
make it.
power.
I'm saying change it. I don't care if you're singing Jeremiah was a bullfrog in the shower. If you feel better after you do that, then you're doing something right. If you feel worse, you need to try something else, and you don't want to do anything that's going to. I'm talking to the young ones that are trying to figure out what to do with abilities and stuff. You don't want to do anything to shut it up. Or stop it like by artificially, alcohol, drugs, things like that, because they're going to use that to weaken you more. So you want to find a way to rebuke that stuff in a positive manner, and love is the best way to do it. Love energy is the best way to throw it at it. It's just it works. Light beats dark every time. Every time. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. The biggest tool in your box is love.
That
Love
is so
energy.
true. That is
Love
so true.
energy. You could stand in a room full of darkness and start singing and dancing that, pick a song, that has to do with, love. I don't care if it's, I watched it happen once in this really dismal place I was working, and I was up on a ladder, and, I don't care. And this, I'm watching all these elderly people, and it was just this time of day when everybody was coming in at this time, and they're getting a yarn or they're getting this, and they're just going about their day, but they're very slow and kind of shuffling around and just kind of looking here and looking there, and the whole thing was just the whole energy in the place was just rotten. And all of a sudden, what's his name? Neil Diamond came on, Sweet Caroline. And I couldn't take it anymore. And I'm on the ladder and I said, ba, ba, ba. And by the time you got to the second verse, half the store was singing with me. Everybody was starting to dance around and looking
You're
at
ahead
things
of the
and picking up.
commercials.
Yeah. And you're picking up, things and looking at them, and the stuff changed on their face. I mean, just it's time and time again proven. So let me play this real quick for everybody. So I just want to get them introduced into who we're talking about here and a little bit about how this works, because Jim, I don't know if you've heard this about how they're using the ectoplasm and the energy in the room from everybody in the room to make actual almost energetic vocal cords for them to come and put their thought into. It's an amazing thing. I can't explain it, but I'm going to let Miss Green explain it. Now, Ms. Green, I think that's her name, and Mr. Wood were people who were interested. They were into spiritualism and, and paranormal investigation, before it was really called that. And they were kind of confidants and people that kind of like almost like Mr. Leslie's roadies. They were the ones who did the recording, and made sure everybody in the room was following the protocol and everything else. I don't want to get stuck in this whole thing with thinking about, okay, well, I read somewhere a headline or saw a comment that this guy once was called a fake. And then it throws everything out. That's how the dark affects the light. The dark affects the light by affecting your thoughts and your mind to go, okay, Sylvia Brown was a total fake. No, she wasn't. She put 50, 60 years of her life into spiritualism. And because she told one person something that she said this, then everything that throws 60 years out. So again, you can't really, you take a magnifying glass and you look at me, you're going to find any dirt on anybody with a fine magnifying glass. And you can always take one thing and turn it and flip it. Well, that's just gossip, and that's, attacking, and that's taking somebody's life who helped. I don't care if she helped one person. That doesn't mean you're a fake. So this man was attacked. He went through so many tests and passed them. He went through everything they threw at him. They blindfolded him. They made him fill his mouth with water. They taped his mouth. They did the things. Darkness doesn't want you to believe that the light exists. It doesn't want you to have hope. So you go ahead and believe it anyway. Because what is it hurting? Right? You know, what is it hurting to believe that love exists and we go on and energy cannot die? Anything that's trying to stop you from that is coming at it at a negative angle. I would question that before I'd question the good. That's my words there. So this is Ms. Green, and I'm gonna play a little bit of this because she explains it so much better than I. If I can find it, there it is. And here she is, Betty Green. And this was recorded in 1964. I was 2 years old. And this is how smart people were back then. Listen to how they had it together. This is amazing. In her voice.
Hello, everybody. This is Mrs. Green speaking. Mr. Woods and I thought it would be a good idea that if before you heard any of these tapes, we gave you an introductory talk. Because although there may be one or two of you who may know about psychic phenomena, there will be a number of you who have no knowledge whatsoever of the subject, especially of direct voice. Now, as in all seances, there is a medium, but in the case of direct voice, the mediumship is physical and not mental. Mental mediumship consists primarily of clairvoyance, clairaudience, hearing spirit voice, impression, and inspirational writing. Physical mediumship is responsible for direct voice, transfiguration, a spirit will overshadow the medium whose face will change, spirit photography, materialization, and telekinesis, the latter being the movement of objects without physical contact. In everybody, there is a substance known as ectoplasm. This substance is a life force, and a physical medium has a great deal of it, and therefore is the chief power station. From this ectoplasmic substance, we are told, chemists on the other side fashion a replica of the vocal organs and reproduce what is known as the voice box, or in some cases we have heard it referred to as a mask. Perhaps in this modern age we might refer to it as the etheric microphone. If you were to take an infrared photograph during a direct voice seance, you would see cords of ectoplasm emanating from the solar plexus of each sitter and the medium, the emanation from the latter, of course, being the greatest, and all these cords joining up to form what looks like a ball of mist or the voice box. The spirit communicator transmits his or her thoughts through this voice box, and by so doing, a vibration is created which reaches us as sound or the voice. In other words, the spirit communicators have to lower their vibration so that they may enter the earth vibration. This explains why the voice may not sound quite like the earth voice. It may be a little distorted. It is rather like when we telephone somebody. We often say, we did not recognize so-and-so's voice. Our voices are being transmitted artificially by the means of an instrument, which at times can distort them. Therefore, how very complicated our spirit friends must find it when they have to reproduce their voice by thought, and also through an artificially made voice box. They cannot be expected to reproduce their earth voice exactly, although I am afraid some sitters do expect it.
I was
Can't hear
muted.
you.
I'm sorry, I was muted. I don't know about you guys, but that is the most amazing thing. And the best way I've ever heard it explained as far as a direct voice medium, where if you heard correctly, they were saying chemists and scientists on the other side have come up. They're busy over there, folks. I'm telling you, this is a group thing where people get together and sit over there and discuss it and help each other make it better. But they actually have to come through and through assistance of other spirit guides and spirits that have been through, understand that they have to think about what their voice sounded like and then try to telepathically project it at this, whatever they're seeing, this energetic voice box, and make their voice come through. Jim, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, and well, the whole thing, like I said, we had mentioned earlier, Lourdes and Ron and stuff, and my God, they're always constantly refining their process and changing it. And I know for a fact that that's guided by spirit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it. I firmly believe, especially now, one thing that's been hitting me lately is the cynicism in the world is at probably all-time high levels. We don't believe in anything anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We don't believe in our government.
That would be the worst thing that could ever happen, is to not believe, to not have faith.
And now they're
something.
trying to get people not to believe in various religions or whatever. So, I mean, they're taking away all of our support mechanisms. This is the eternal struggle between good and bad.
Yes.
So I think the other side is just as feverishly working whatever they can, as imperfect as it is, to try to allow us to be more in direct communication and all that.
100% agree.
And I just take it, I just hope and always pray that I'm on the side of good in this. We know how the outcome. We know the ultimate outcome in all this. So,
and that's the thing. And that's what they're saying. In 1962, you saw that was 1964. So, and from what I understand, they were doing some recordings as early as, recording equipment coming out in the late 40s and 50s. They had stuff too. They started refining it more in the late 60s and 70s, this group that I'm talking about. And every single spirit that comes through, that has been through more than once, because usually they come through and they say the first thing that's on their mind, what they passed with, like the ones that are still earthbound will come right in. And it's almost like they're trying to get the words out and they blurt out, I didn't do it. They accused me. It's whatever is on their mind. Whereas the other ones that are coming through, they're a little bit more, they've been on the other side, they've healed, they've moved through their stuff. Now they're getting busy. And they're doing stuff over there and planning on how to help and make it better. And they come through and they say, we wish more people on the earth would understand this. Because if they understood this, it would release such a burden and such a weight of worry. And they would just get on about living and trying to be good human beings.
Yeah. And, and as Lynn has said earlier, she had some negative aspects from religion or religion based. And, like anybody who knows me, I'm not ashamed to say what I am. I'm LDS. I've been, we're converts. I've been in the church about 50 years. I hold the priesthood, and hopefully between the Lord and I honor the priesthood and do those functions. Had an episode recently here within the last several months. I've had my bishops before me come and do sessions and connect. And I'm very open about what I do. I'm not ashamed of anything, and nothing's in disharmony with the gospel. And but anyhow, my wife and I were talking about the Hoover House, and one of the sister missionaries who's having dinner with us, something must have alarmed her. So she runs to the bishop, and I don't know what she said. We don't know what we were talking about, but he called us in his office and was just sort of seeing what we were about, And the night before this happened, we had Dave Spinks and his wife, Serenity Jenny, were there. Had this amazing night. And she comes up to me after a number of sessions, and she tells me, she says, Jim, someone gave me a message to give to you. And I said, oh, that's nice. She goes, do you know a Joseph Smith, or maybe his name's Joe Smith? And I said, yes, I do. And anybody who's familiar with Mormonism, he was our first prophet. And she says, well, Joseph Smith wanted me to tell you that you're doing wonderful work. He meets his approval, and he gives his blessings on your continued efforts. So I'm thinking to myself, yeah, right. Joseph Smith took time out from all of his whatever he's doing on the other side to say hello to me. So I didn't really, I said, well, that's nice, but I didn't really put a lot of credence in it. the next day I'm asked to come see the bishop, and he's querying me about, am I doing something wrong or in disharmony with the gospel? And of course, I reassured him, no, I'm, my relationship with the Savior is preeminent to what I'm about. So
it's all the same. It's all light work. It's all love.
So anyhow, it comes to me that evening, I'm thinking about it, and I'm getting a little upset. I'm like, wait a minute, and these people, they don't even know. I mean, there's a lot of spiritual base. They may be strong in the religion, but are they strong spiritually? And so all of a sudden, I remembered what Serenity Jenny told me, and Joseph Smith coming through and said, wait a minute, I got approval from Joseph Smith.
Right.
I said, I know him. And it really did uplift my spirits.
Yeah.
Calm my manner.
Pun intended.
I mean, I'm humbled. Now, I mean, I want to tell you on a stack of Bibles, Joseph Smith come and gave me a message. But, I do sort of believe it. And I think I got the stamp of approval for someone whose whole life was martyred by trying to honor the gospel and his love of Christ. So, it's spirit. I always say, I was saying, spirit always amazes.
Right.
I mean,
it
we
is.
put the limits on it. They don't.
Right. That's it right there. Everybody's got to get out of the box thing. If you are in something that you feel comfortable with, this is what I would say. I believe in so many things I feel that are right. If it fits in the box of good and it's for good sake, and there's no, listen, I'm so against so many organized religions out there that try to put a block between you and your communication with your source.
And I understand that.
With your source. And we're all in agreement. Most people that are in the spirituality, whatever path we take, we understand that in the core, it's all the same. All the differentials and all the rule and everything everybody else puts out, that's all man or women or whatever powers that be that wanted you to restrict it. You have to do what you feel is right for you, that resonates with you. I at a very young age reached out and wanted to know everything. I want to know everything because I felt like all wisdom is not found in one place, and it's not. However, there's different paths to that same thing. When elder of mine at a powwow one time told me, we're leaning over the fence and just looking out at the stars and the field and everything and over split rail fence. And we were talking about this very subject. And he says, you know what? He said, and he called me Soaring Eagle. And he said, Soaring Eagle, I'm going to tell you something. He says, always, hey, sweetheart, here's the deal. I don't understand why people get so hung up on what path they take. We're all going to the same place. So again, this is it. You do what's good for you, but once you get over there, I don't care if you're an atheist or whatever, you are going to go out on the vibration you're in, but it's also has to do with what's here and what you did before in other lives, what your soul's been through, and you're going to get over there and you're going to have, what is comfortable to you. Some of these people that come through, and next time when we come on, I'll play you a couple of those where they go through and they go, I kind of wound up in a place that kind of looked like country. Could have been anywhere in the country. It was birds and trees and a lake. And I laid there for a while, just in the grass like I did when I was a boy, and just relaxed for a while. And then I kind of felt that there was somebody else there. And he said, I didn't get any bad feeling from it. It was kind of warm, loving feeling. And I kind of just thought in my mind, if there's somebody here, I could use a little help because I'm not really sure where I am, but could you give me that help? And that spirit, what he called an ascended being of light, came to him and then appeared as somebody he went to high school with, or he was friends with back in the day, that he was comfortable with. And found out that this person had passed, but at an older age, but came to him in a form he would recognize, and he was here to walk him through the first steps of this. And then somebody else's might be something else, and something else, and something else. But it's all about healing, easing your spirit into the next thing, as comfortable as that may be, or as rough a road that may be. It's your road. If you don't want it to be rocky, start fixing it now,
That's right.
And that's just the way it is. And who's this lovely baby, Lynn?
Oh, this is Zeus.
Hey, Zeus.
This is my rescue puppy.
This is the baby. Hello,
Yes,
baby.
he is. And
And
he
that's
loves,
it too. All the
and-
animals, they're
the
her
cat-
best teacher.
yeah, they're
They're getting along. Oh, she went out. Cat chewed through the cord.
Eh,
The kid, there. Are
Oh,
you
yeah.
okay? We thought the kitten chewed through the cord. You're muted, baby. Turn your mic back on. It's showing that you got a mic here, but you're not muted on this end, but I don't hear you.
now
Now-
it's muted. Now she's
Try
on.
that. Nope. I don't know. When it went out, it came on. Go back out and follow the link back in. Because everything reset. There you go. So that's the main thing. If we could just move past the point, as we go forward in, when Jim and Lynn and I get together, I want to go ahead and say, let's look at this as spirits on the other side trying to tell us how to make it easier for us over here and how to be better light workers. And let's not so much worry about the, all of the labels and the walls and stuff, because like I said, Jim's LDS and very active in his church, does beautiful work and with wonderful people, and it's nothing but light and love. And I do my stuff. I'm on a Native American kind of tribal Christian red road. But again, if I go into a house and everybody in that house is Buddhist, I bring mine with me, but I add theirs because it's their home and this is where they live, and they have to understand that as long as it's out of light and love, it's welcome. And this is what we're doing.
And I think whatever insights we bring from whatever religion we practice is very critical, because I really have difficulty picking up on Native American energies. And that's probably because of the religious aspects, where they're more centered about earth and the sky and the sun and all that. And I'm more centered about, Christ. So I recognize that, but I'm a strong component. Whatever religion one supports, if it helps fulfill you as a person, if you understand a purpose in life, if it gives you strength in your living life, it's working for you. And
there you go. Yeah, and that's it too, is like when they're over there, the people that everybody's over here arguing over are all getting along over there and telling us, sending in spirits and getting all these things to give us as many tools as we can, as much assistance as they can give us, if we're willing to reach out and take it. Once you reach out and say, hey, I'm a light worker and I'm having a hard time dealing with all this fear and anguish and news and things and social media, stop. Cut it all off. I actually told Jim that because he's such an empath, and he's just, and everybody is concerned about one thing or another or a bunch. And I said, look, your spirit guides are coming and telling my spirit guides to bug me and tell you to get off the social media, give it a break, because it's draining you. It's draining you. It's draining you. And I got it for 2 days, and I sent you a message or something. I can't remember what exactly it was. And then something happened. You went back on, and then they kicked you off, didn't they? The spirit guys just ripped it out from under you, and I was laughing.
Facebook obliterated. So we have Lynn back.
We're Lynn back.
Yes.
Can we hear you, sweetheart?
Can
You're
you hear
good.
me? Okay.
Yeah.
My phone's getting ready to die, so I had to
Go.
take my mic off, so you can hear me okay, right?
I can hear you fine, baby. And
a phone call came through and it knocked me off, so that's what happened.
And that will happen. Just not a worry.
Okay, good.
Not a worry.
While it's on my mind, I want to say Lynn had already disclosed her age earlier in the show, so I'm not.
She looks wonderful.
But
Wait, what?
This really agrees with you. You look.
Yeah.
Using the old moniker, you look marvelous.
You look marvelous. She looks marvelous.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'll be 61 on the 17th of May.
You go, baby.
Good.
You go. And that's just it. It really is true between the good witch and the bad witch, the good, when you're conducting an evil, you do miserable things all your life, and you're just miserable to people, and you're one of those, it shows. And when you try to bring the light forth and you go through, people will never realize what we go through just to help a stranger or help, whatever. And again, that's why I get a little upset when people really bash somebody I know is a legitimate medium, that whatever, because listen, we're getting attacked continuously, and so are you. If you're trying to do good, you're getting that too, because it's spiritual warfare. And put up your protection, and let's try not to judge on headlines or whatever. Try not to take the bait on things. Understand that if people are good people and trying to bring the truth, they're going to be attacked. And I can make a long list of that, and it's been going on forever. And it's just the other side's way of just tear them down and discredit them and everybody, and you'll crush a bunch of people that had faith. You see, let's take faith leaders that are supposed to be up pronouncing love and make them the most evil, nasty things walking, and then everybody will turn away from that, and they'll blame what you were, the people for the theology and for what you're just supposed to believe in. Here's the thing. We're trying to take the best spirit, the biggest light of unconditional love and light, and put it in a box, and then put labels on it, and then keep your box and tell other people that their box isn't as good as your box, but you both have the same light in it. Open the fucking box and let the light out, and be the best represented for that light you can possibly be. Because if you're not, and you're fighting other people about their light, you're not dealing in light, you're dealing in dark. And that's the best weapon the other side has. Don't let them do it. Don't you let them do it. Period. I love you both. Closing statements. And next time we get together, would you like to do this again and take a couple of these conversations and think they're working so hard to come over here to give us messages? And I'd love to be an outlet for that. And then each of you go off into your lives doing what you're doing and come back. And I'm betting you a lot of the messages are going to start to sync up, because that's the time we're in. And I love you both. Thank you for being out there putting the light out. What would you like to say? Ladies first, darling.
Yeah.
Everybody, don't forget to give this a thumbs up and subscribe. Okay, make sure that Cisco and thank you for the algorithm in the chat tonight. If anybody needs to reach out to me, I'm at www.lynnmonet.com.
Thank you, baby.
There for many things. I'm just wanted to make mention too. I'm very, very proud to announce that I just graduated with my death doula.
Yes.
License. So I'm kind of adding that on there, and I'm getting ready to start the MACE energy practitioner. So I will be extending it for free to a lot of people, especially if you're in this group, but don't tell anybody. It's just going to be special for this group to do a one session on you for free. And once I finish that, that'll be in about 4 to 6 months. So yeah.
There you go, guys. So look forward to. I love it. And we got a lot of things coming up. We got the bash coming up, Jim, and tell a little bit about the Hoover House too, and bed and breakfast. Come and get the place. And, we're thinking about doing a get together too, like around in October or something too, to go out there and hang.
July, Pam and Steve that run the Hoover House for me have the Gettysburg Bash. I don't know, the 5th or 6th year. We've outgrown our venue. So this year it's a new venue, the Eisenhower Complex. It's already sold out. It's a melding of all kind of things, but we basically raise funds for PA wounded warriors and for children with cancer. And we support Batman's ministry, working with the children with all the high psychological issues dealing with children today. So it's one of the larger charitable groupings in the state of Pennsylvania. And that's all credit, not to me, but to Pam and Steve. I'm just a volunteer there. But and I thank them for all their work at the Hoover House. If you're in the area, look on Facebook with the historic 1912 Hoover House. We are a bed and breakfast, but if you want to have, it's a nice way to introduce yourself into the paranormal. Our spirits are wonderful. They're very inviting, and you'll feel the ambiance when you come in. And I want to thank both of you ladies. I've learned a great deal tonight. I know I've queried you a lot of questions because
That's wonderful.
I'm the novice in all this. I don't even,
We all are, babe.
We all,
frankly, have.
We all are.
I don't even know where I'm at. I'm just sort of stumbling around, but
But God, you're doing great because you allowed your spirit guides to guide you and other people, and they brought other people in your life, and you're getting all this wisdom from so many people. I told you, I don't know how many years ago, I don't know how many years it's been now, but I remember telling you before you ever, when you started to get the house, you and Dave were sitting there, we were doing my show, and you mentioned the house, and you were telling about the green room. Remember the story? And I said, this place is going to be a place of light where spirit gathers to help other spirits and earthbound spirits and the living, and where the communications are going to start. And it's not the only place. I know several that have popped up at the same time. That's why I'm so stringent where I am, because I see it happening everywhere. So I know this is the time, and light workers are being gathered. Oh, you got to go. I love you, baby.
have a
Bye,
blessed week, Lynn. Pleasure
Her
to meet
phone's dying. Her phone's dying. So, I know that this is where we're supposed to be right now, and it excites me, And again, I want to tell people that I walked into a thing. I had to get some. I was doing some house cleansing and sealing my house, and I had to get some more oils. And Jim and I talked all about that. And again, use what you feel, But again, it depends on what you're dealing with. You better use the right tool for the job.
you. Yeah.
Because when you've got things coming from other dimensions, and people don't know how to stop it, and they evoke the name of Jesus and it backs off, you might want to think about it, because this is, another world.
Yeah.
And you've got spirits coming over there, and you're talking to them, and you say, hey, do you know this one? And say, of course I do. We make too much of a big deal here. And I think that's one of the things that really is their best weapon, to make you doubt yourself, doubt your heart, doubt what the knowledge, the little bit of knowledge you were able to retain coming into this world in your DNA memory, and telling you're a fool for believing it when you know darn well it's right. So if it feels right for you at this time in your consciousness, I'd say go with it until that consciousness is expanded and other things come in and go, wow, that's right too, because that's where you are in your journey.
Well, I have a great deal of support. I thank you. Of course, I lost a very strong mentor in Holly. But
I love you too. Yeah. God bless you, Holly.
On the other side. So I'm going to
just make you stronger.
Good
night, baby. I love you.
Ask the audience to have a blessed week. And it's been a real pleasure talking.
We thank you so much for being here, Jim. Okay. And everybody's sending you love and bacon. We know, and my love to everybody out there, to spread it around. Thanks for being here.
Good night, all.
Good night. All right. There you go, guys. So that's pretty much it. I just want to make sure that here's the thing. This is what worries me. If you open that door and say all love light can come in, you're getting all of it. If you're saying only the light that's purple, you're missing so much. So how about trying to run it through your filters and your spirit guides and say, if you feel like I need to have something in my life or a new tool, because you might be getting trained for something you got coming up, don't cut off the tools that you can use that you might need in the future because of other stuff that's dark. Okay. So just do it simple. Don't use labels, and say light and dark, and understand that your energy and your thought can actually repel something just by taking a word and it backs something off. It might not back it off forever, but it might back it off enough so you can get a breath. You're going to need a lot of breaths coming up. So I understand that people get caught up in this, and this. Again, here's your box. Take the lid off. Let the light out. Let the light in. Keep the dark out. You're going to need your energy. Don't fight stuff that's trying to help you. That's all. That's all I'm saying. And I'm saying that tonight because so many of these spirits that came through, not just in these conversations with Leslie Flint, but conversations I've been reading for 50 years. And I'm very picky at my sources, very picky. Even as a young girl. It was almost like I came in here knowing I was going to be doing stuff I'm doing now. I didn't know. Somehow my soul knew, or my spirit guides knew, or whoever was helping me knew. But they were helping me discern big puzzles back then. Big puzzles. And I just know that if you limit yourself, you're limiting yourself. You're already helping the other side win. If you open yourself up and say, all love light can come in, you got it all. I'll tell you what, when I go to help somebody, I bring it all with me. I bring the howitzers. I put it right out front. I'm not playing. Let's do it. We don't pussyfoot around. Let's try this. Let's try this. No. You go in, you try to assess the situation as best you can. Of course, you've done your due diligence and whatever the case may be. But you're there to connect that human essence that is stuck into their love light so they can better make decisions for what they want to do with their free will. Because they might not even remember the light exists. You don't know where they're at. You don't know what mindset they're in. Everybody in this chat is a living human being right now, as far as I know. Might have a few bots in here, maybe some. Do we have any porn bots in here, Ted? You've been keeping an eye out? Or AI or whatever. But for the most part, living human beings. Everybody's different walk of life. Everybody gets their comfort from different places. Everybody gets their strength from different places. But if you're a light worker, I know where it comes from. It comes from the light. So if it's light, allow it. If it's bad, rebuke it. Just sort it like that and don't get tangled. Don't get tangled into arguments about what somebody else's consciousness might be about a financial situation going on or this over here. Because this is what got us into trouble in the first place. Everybody got on that hamster wheel and, working, trying to pay bills, doing it, and they kept you from all of this that you're entitled to as a human being. Life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, the right to raise your children the way you see fit, the right to not be harmed, stolen from, abused, ridiculed, made to feel less than, because you're not. And if you had a rough life and you went through a lot of hard things and you survived them, it was to be here now. Not on this podcast, in this time. A lot of us chose to be here. I don't know what we were thinking, but here we are. We might as well make the best out of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this up again. This was beautiful. Had a great time. And most of the things I said, I did not plan to say tonight. I don't have it written down. I was wide open in this ear. And they're saying, say this, say this, say this. There's a lot of energy here tonight. And it's beautiful. And I always feel very rejuvenated when I tap into this energy. And I hope you do too. I hope you do too. Because we're not just telling ghost stories. We're trying to learn from them. Because if somebody lived on this earth and crossed over and has the wherewithal and the want to come back and try to assist somebody else, it's really helping us sort how to help those that are stuck here. And it seems to be extremely important that no man's left behind, apparently. That sounds crazy, right? But aren't we supposed to be helping? Aren't we supposed to be helping each other? Aren't we supposed to be helping our neighbor and treating others the way we want to be treated? If it was somebody you loved that was stuck in a closet for 150 years, wouldn't you want them helped? But again, people start putting the blame. Well, why don't their angels come and get them? Why don't their loved ones come? They do. They can't see it. Somebody's got to get in there and rattle that cage and tell them, hey, yo, love, right here. Let's go. Sometimes that's what it takes. Your mileage may vary. But I love you guys enough to be here on Sunday night and do all the crazy stuff that I do just to make you smile and just to make you feel better. And it's 100% selfish because it makes me smile and it makes me feel better. So thank you. And thank you to all the spirits and the ghosts who feel that it's so important that they will go through so much just to get back here to say one sentence to make one person feel better about themselves or their life. So if the dead are going through that much to help the living, why can't the living go through that much to help the dead? And in turn, help each other. I think that's what we're supposed to be doing. I think we're supposed to be raising this consciousness. And we can't raise the consciousness if we're pulling on each other's ankles. Because you don't like the name of the ladder they're standing on. That's what they convinced us to do, to separate us. We're all the same. We're all the same. Except for the reptiles and the aliens and the cryptids that are running around. But I think even them, they've got a little bit of that life force. And, you know, a lot of people just want to survive. Some people want to live. I believe you have a purpose. And I believe we have a purpose of talking about this right now. I think it's important. And I think it's amazing that spirits that came through in 1962, which is as far back as I can go on these recordings so far, are saying the same things that spirits are saying now, coming through. And before I leave, at least this plane, I want to put it out there. I want to get the message out there. Because we're up against so many things that don't want you to have that message. So Cisco gonna talk. So Cisco can't talk no more. When I get over there, I'll just be set free, and then we'll see what happens. I love you all. You all are powerful spirits made from light and love. Thank you for being here. And if you can't do that, just breathe.